forgot. Smoking me dig on.
But he did the same thing. The people that want to have it.
They don't do that. They
So they were shut the river.
No, when I was in the Air Force, you know, they wouldn't let us smoke the first 2 weeks of boot camp.
And on the
So then they said, smoke your gas, so they were all sweaty, dried out, everybody got dizzy. And that was,
I didn't realize that.
everybody smoked. The guys who didn't started.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
They didn't get a smoke break if they didn't smoke. There's no smoking or tobacco use at all. Really? Boy, things are getting
A lot of business.
wow.
I think my dad or brother would have survived that.
That was a habit I really enjoyed. I didn't like it.
He enjoyed smoking.
It was the hardest year of my life.
I've always been advising them, like, you haven't started, you haven't quit yet, you need to start quitting.
My dad's 88, he might get around it.
My dad said when he was in the military, he tried to reciprocate.
Okay, everybody, looks like we're gonna rock and roll. We had public comment during the board meeting. Is there anything you have to add to your comments?
I don't think so. I mean, if you go forward with the dog park over in Rogers, get rid of the other one. Find some other use for that piece of property back there. I'm sure there's something that can be done with it, but, yeah.
If we don't have any other comments then, Mr. Rankin, you are free to rock and roll.
Okay. For the agenda, primary purpose for tonight is a mid-year review for the budget, and then also a review for capital projects for 2017, and then talk a little bit about the upcoming 2018 moving. With us tonight is Steve Butheris, our town engineer, along with David. I've asked Steve to attend to provide some update on some numbers. But before we get to that, I just want to do a cursory review. These are our priorities that we set last fall. We've updated them from 2 years ago when we met with Don Sandoval and have initially established our short-term, mid-term, long-term objectives. So on the senior center, you're well aware, we contracted Bob Shreb. We received the Building Energy Impact Grant Award of a little over $348,000, $375,000 in Colorado Reserve, Colorado Trust. We're going to bid it out starting next week, early second week of July. We're anticipating it to be a 6-month project with a finish over winter time. So looking at early spring completion. The seniors did vote on the interior, not furnishings, but the color schemes for the carpet, the countertops, some laminate, and that sort of thing. So that's been passed on to Mr. Shred.
I got a question.
Sure.
What color is it? Is it orange and green?
No, no.
Okay, good.
I would say probably more earth tone. I can't remember. Mary,
Yeah,
do you remember?
what I
Mary?
thought.
Yeah, darker colors, there's some, the carpet is very similar to this, with mixed color tones, and then, sort of a gray-blue countertop and black backsplash. For Christie's office, she went more with, a tan brown theme.
Orange is
It was in the drawings, wasn't it? Orange and green.
On the initial Dolan drawings, it was.
Yeah.
The exterior.
We would have to do an executive overrule.
If that's what they chose, then so be it, but.
Senior
I'm a
center,
senior, I wouldn't let it.
so it's a, I'd say conservative work in progress. It'll be done next spring. Another item going into this year, comprehensive look at the sewer lagoon. We're still waiting on that state discharge permit. I have no idea yet. Have we? No.
Not a word.
But we built up a little bit of reserve in Colorado Trust, $225,000. There's been $442,000 plus in sewer investment fees. The downtown revitalization plan that was completed in 2016, simply a schematic of what it could potentially be. Excel Energy, I did not meet by actual phone conversation. They did start the undergrounding design of the power lines on those 4 blocks. And his name is Al Ermer. He was assigned to it from Excel. And he came to town. He didn't meet with me. He just came and walked through the site. And by mid to late July, we're supposed to have a final plan estimate with some costs associated with it. So I'll bring that to the board. Hopefully before the 18th, it works out that way.
Great.
I also know Kathy sold it upstate Colorado recently, early this month. She really wants to talk to the board and even potential community about incentive programs on potential funding sources to help fund this project downtown and get the businesses together to help pitch in themselves. So,
Who is she?
she's not the director, but she's the go-to person for upstate Colorado. Nothing really. Kathy Schulte, very nice lady, very knowledgeable of different kind of incentive programs. Not just for the downtown, but for the businesses in the locality. And we talked about bringing in some more commercial retail units. And then another primary goal was to develop financial policy with incorporate long-range forecasting. Larry and I were chat before the board meeting. I think next month, I'm going to meet with PFM Group. They're recommended by the City of Brighton. They work with the City of Brighton on investments to make their money work and to build up more revenues or funds for projects. We're at the point of our budget over the years that we actually have some funds that we could potentially invest in. So that is moving forward. Our mid-range, increase our marketing and social media plan. Of course, we have Everbridge, our website, our marquee, but we're also, as of this year, using Platform Next Door, and we're utilizing Facebook more. Hello, Mike.
How y'all doing?
Today I actually met with a lady from the U.S. Department of Agriculture, Julie Sproby. They have programming and some funds for things like community gardens, public facilities, even some potential streets. I'm just looking at all those, but we sat down for an hour and a half. She went over all of their programs, so I need to analyze those. But the community garden, I'm leaning toward my recommendation to the board is keep it close at hand if we build one near Town Hall along with some of the new property that we bought.
Just like the right.
Potentially, yes, because we need to manage it.
Yes.
I was talking to Mary in the front office about the opportunity to incorporate maybe the school district in some of their educational classes, you know, for the FHA, whatever courses that, and then even some youth programs through Reggie and the rec department.
So I know the gentleman who runs the Winter Garden, and he's willing to come out and talk with you,
Great.
if you wanted to.
No, very good. When Dave and I, we looked at, we're starting to put together a draft site plan for our property. We're not there yet, though. Other projects need to be resolved first, probably. And then another mid-range was enhancing the economic development of our downtown area or business district by looking at right places for development. We're kind of landlocked between the railroad, 85, the river, so forth. So again, going back to Kathy Schulte, upstate Colorado, I want to do a fall workshop with her so she can explain some of the incentives. And even though we don't have a Chamber of Commerce, she feels strongly that establishing a downtown business association, a 501c3, would be very productive for Platteville. And through that 501c3, they can get incentives as a group of businesses for tax breaks and rebates primarily to help their business and help, and we work cooperatively hand in hand with the association to improve the downtown.
Would we just include just the downtown people, or would we want to include some of the other businesses along 66 or something that so they would be part of our economic growth?
Yeah. Most of our retail commercial is down Main Street and at 66. So that'd be the primary corridor. It really wouldn't apply for industrial. There are other incentives though for industrial type businesses, for tax rebate based on employees. One example. And then finally, a long range, maintenance plan for infrastructure marketing. We're with David and Mr. Bissaris on formalizing a street program, sidewalks, or storm drain. We just completed that last year, storm drain plan. And then, of course, you will know their impact fee study was completed and adopted and incorporated 2 years ago. Moving the truck route, not going to happen until we get a signal 34, which is still in long-range plans from CDOT. And the most recent health study that was completed. And then finally, Front Street improvements, met with all the businesses last year here at Town Hall, had a luncheon meeting. Steve was here with us, with David. And I believe it was a topographical survey, Steve, that was recompleted, and that road was built just in 89?
89, I believe.
89.
Yeah.
So looking at, drainage is the first key to improving that road. So I think you and David kind of looked at the drainage out there. And it's just baby steps, we're not really into that too deep right now, so.
So you say that long term?
It's still long-range priority. But that would qualify once we get to that point for funding opportunity with the Department of Local Affairs, because it is a truck route. And heavy oil and gas activity on that road.
That train sits there, people use it all the time.
Yeah. Well, I want to bring up the train here in just a minute, because the mayor and I had a meeting last night. And then the board's established with staff some just annual ongoing, reviewing and improving our capital priorities, looking at long-term funding sources, maintain debt-free budget, which we still have, replace the program for 10 equipment, permanent vehicles, repairing and constructing new sidewalks, we got grants for next year, and water lines, sewer line, and street improvements. So those are annual reviews, just keep reminding us to move forward with those projects annually. So before I get too much further, I want to actually bring up, I met with Steve and David, about a month ago? Was it that? 3 weeks. And going into this, I wanted Steve to be part of this because he, many times behind the scenes working with Dave and I, coming up with design plans, cost estimates. And what I asked him to do for tonight's meeting, put together some cost estimates, and we'll start with Reynolds Avenue. Which is one of the priority projects. My mouse works. So I've been talking to Steve and Dave the last probably 3-4 years about Reynolds. And Steve has handouts on this too, so you can have a closer look. Because you know, with the new senior center, we're going to get a lot of complaints on Reynolds because we have a nice new facility, we've improved the ball fields. Reynolds is becoming a very high priority street to improve. It's one of our last ones in town now that we've finished 3.5 years old. Other than Front Street, that still is, it's recycled asphalt currently, but it's basically a gravel road. So Steve, I would, if you're comfortable, I'd ask you to kind of summarize what these numbers reflect and for what.
Certainly. Thank you, Troy. This is a project that's kind of been in the mill for quite a while, since 1991.
Could you pull your thing up a little bit, Steve?
Is that better?
Yes, sir.
Because we're on TV and the mayor wants to make sure.
Okay. Anyway, we actually designed the Reynolds roadway improvements in 1991 from Main Street to River. And at that time, they were going to do it as a special improvement project and have all the neighbors pay for it. And of course, that didn't fly at all. And so it's just kind of, it's been in limbo since then, and it kind of keeps getting more expensive and more expensive every time we look at it. And some of the main issues on Reynolds is what to do with the drainage and stormwater. And what we're looking at doing is putting in asphalt, pavement, curb and gutter, sidewalks. And because it's so flat, we kind of have to roller coaster the road. And so we'll generate low spots where we have to have catch basins and storm sewer pipe. And then we need to take that storm sewer pipe and maybe empty it somewhere. The master drainage study that was done this year showed the pipe going on the east side through Reynolds and then north along the east side of the community center, up along the east side of Schultz subdivision, and then down 32 and a half and into the floodway, floodplain, or something on the side of the ditch. The cost estimate for that storm sewer is like $1.3 million. So we've kind of been trying to figure out how we could maybe do this, get Reynolds Avenue built without having to take up such a big chunk of change in storm sewer costs. And so if you look at the handout you just got there's a cost estimate, but on the back of it, and that cost estimate is the first item is for demolitions, material demolition items, and then the roadway improvements is item Roman numeral number 2, and that includes the storm sewer. And then the third item is for a detention pond. And we've kind of been thinking outside the box a little bit here, and what we're proposing, if you look on the last sheet, or what we're showing you, is a potential detention pond in the area just south of the horseshoe pits, west of the community, or west of both pits. And that drawing kind of indicates the limits of the detention pond. And so you can see it goes completely around, it's kind of a L-shaped guy, it goes completely around the horseshoe pits, it's going to be about 10 feet deep. It's going to be a big hole in the ground. We would empty the storm sewer in there, and then we have no place to take it, we would pump it out into the storm sewer, or the river road.
Pump it out to what?
To the storm sewer, storm drain and river road,
Okay.
is what the plan is.
And that'll be an option other than 1.1 way pipe control system. So we're looking at options. I talked to Steve today, right, so we're going to look at all the potential options.
And this would be fenced for safety's sake?
Yeah, we would need to do something, sure. I mean, we're not talking, it would be 3-to-1 slide slopes. So it would be slopes that could be maintained. It's not, the problem, but it's still a hole in the ground. It'll have water in it when it rains.
So I think, we're looking at that, the challenges on that south side of Reynolds, because there's a big drop. So are you gonna curb and gutter up top and then leave the rest down for the?
No, we would have to design the curb and gutter on Reynolds to come down and meet those intersections. Because you're talking about some of the low intersections or some of the lower.
Because Reynolds is higher, and then all the
Right.
other stuff come here, and then they go up to Reynolds.
And we're gonna have to bring Reynolds down to meet those, so we're gonna have low spots there, that's where we're gonna have to collect the water. So,
And how about from Main, or Main to Division?
Main.
There's that.
the main to Division, the original design had that graded all the way from Main to Division, sloping to the west. Now, it's a little bit tougher now because of the houses.
All the water sits there, when it rains, it all comes down Division, and puddles right there.
Yeah, and we would have, the plan was to have valley dance going across Division, east to west.
But we want the flow to go to the west, right?
Right.
Because right now it goes to the east.
Yeah, Niagara Down doesn't go anywhere very well.
Well,
Yeah, well, that's the problem,
Yeah.
yeah. We've tried to make it go to the west, and we haven't been very successful. If we can get curb and gutter in there, we can do a little bit better job. I still think we're gonna have trouble with the houses that are up here, right on the south side of Reynolds. I'm not sure how that's gonna work until we really get into those. When we designed it the first time, those houses were there.
The elevations of those houses really makes it,
How about with the fire station, with their parking lot and their drainage? That's gonna come into play here next year.
Yes,
So
it is,
if
and
we get a rainstorm and they got red water going down Main Street to Division, it's gonna be, it could flood those 3 houses that are sitting there.
Exactly, and we've had several discussions about how to handle that. And what we're looking at, what we're trying to do is take that north, that drainage north, the stuff that's gonna be along Main Street here, when the fire department will take it north into the energy park. Try and avoid everything going to Reynolds. That's a separate, that's a separate issue. Yeah.
Huge, that'd be a lot.
They're gonna have detention on site, the fire department will, so it'll be a matter of just getting that water in an open channel up to the north, go through the system.
Is there such a thing as storm water lift stations?
Yes.
Are we going to be forced to consider something like that?
The cost estimate you're looking at includes basically a lift station. It's lifting the water up so we can get it to a storm sewer.
As flat as we are, I mean, we're talking of increments of an inch, water just isn't moving fast enough.
So you said you're gonna cut it into River Road, is there, what is that?
There's a storm drain in River Road about 500 feet south of Reynolds.
And where does that go?
It runs down here to Grand, west, under the ditch, and down the river.
Are we still gonna have to replace that, pipe in Reed? There was discussion about putting a pipe in Reed, I think it was a sizing issue, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was one of our early options, to come up Reed into the detention pond there at the ball fields. It wasn't a great option because we couldn't come in at the bottom of the pond, we had grade issues. So we kind of stepped away from that a little bit, and this is kind of our latest look at things.
Can we utilize that, what's left of that sump there, east of the outfield on the east field, directly north of the community center?
I think, well, it's possible that you could use it. The problem now is the state has, it requires you to meet certain requirements. There's no outlet from that pond either.
Right.
So you have to be able to have, I'm not sure there's enough room to put the amount of water that we need to put in. That's why we're kind of looking over here. The other thing is that the state is mandated that you can't have retention ponds anymore. Retention ponds are detention ponds without outlets because of water rights issues. So if you have a retention pond, it's kind of complicated. The soil has to be pervious enough that you can infiltrate a 5-year storm in less than 72 hours, and a 100-year storm in less than 120 hours. So if you can do that, if you have real loose soil, you can have a retention pond. Otherwise, you have to have an outlet, a way to get rid of the water.
As gravelly and sandy as we are, I can't believe that water would sit.
And that's a possibility. We would have to do tests to make sure that would happen. And if that's the case, then this pond would work without an outlet.
I do know living down by the golf with that little pond in the parking lot, when it has filled up, it usually takes several days for it to drain, or to go through, so it doesn't saturate very fast.
The problem I have with this is this catch basin, this pond, is right in what I consider very valuable recreational space. And we have, what we have is concentrated in that area pretty much, and I'm afraid that this is going to disrupt everything that we probably are looking to do in the future with that area.
And that's something we did discuss. Again, it's optional, so I wanted to be here tonight to discuss this with the board. We want to budget in about 3 months, because what we're looking at now is the cost. With this option, which this is close to the cost of just the storm drain, through the storm drain study, we have to reach it out.
Question. Out of this lagoon, we got that one where you guys store machinery. Is there any possibility that could be deepened a few feet and used as a sump? Because there would be a drain we could fashion a drain out of that, could we not? Because it is a little higher.
I think we would have to, have to double check, but I think we would have to pump up to that point to get it in out there.
if we're looking at a lift station.
And so basic, well, if we're looking at a lift station, but what we've got to do is, we've got to have an area that can handle the flow gravity-wise off of Reynolds and then into the detention area so that we can pump it. I don't know that we could create a large enough area for a 100-year storm to be able to pump that into that extra lagoon cell fast enough to keep up with a 100-year storm if we had one. So then we'd be flooding out Reynolds because our pump probably wouldn't keep up with that. Because basically what we're doing is, with this, is we're giving this water an area to go to be detained during the storm, and then once the storm basically subsides, then we can pump it from here into the storm sewer when the storm sewer along Grand Avenue isn't being overwhelmed from the rest of the town.
The only reason I thought about that cell was it is fenced,
Right.
and we could deepen it significantly without causing probably any risk to the public at large.
Yeah, no, you could, and it probably is big enough.
But
One of the reasons, and we kind of talked about that, Mr. Mayor, a little bit in the past, we've kind of stayed away from just because we kind of foresee the new wastewater treatment plant probably heading into that lagoon.
And that is certainly a possibility. I mean, that.
One issue leads to another. So, as far as tonight, I want to throw out some big numbers, another option that's on the table as far as the detention areas go. Over the years, Mike Hill and Nick Preston owns the properties, 5 acres between the sewer lagoon and the ball fields, have offered those for sale, for purchase. So, there's another option.
We put the pond there and put parking. there.
Exactly. So I don't want to go into a whole lot of detail tonight, but I want the board to be aware of what we're working on as far as options for Reynolds Avenue. Looks to me like paving is actually the easiest part of the project.
What are the future plans of that area anyway, like I said?
There's nothing set in stone. We put in initially the dog park up there initially, in the corner up there on the northwest corner, what is the tower site by 4 bath, where SPA, they decommissioned. Back when we leave the fence, so we had an enclosure for storage. And then came just a few years ago, just in the last 2 or 3 years, we built the mud volleyball. Otherwise, in the horseshoes, otherwise it was prairie dog tail. That's what locals call it, real prairie dogs. But we don't have any formal plans for that area. Really, during the harvest days, that's over capacity for parking during that large event, but otherwise, it's not used. It's not used.
Yeah, it's parking.
So that's one thing to keep in mind.
Troy,
Yes.
to the east of Rural Riders, who owns that land? Do you know?
The east.
Directly to the east of his,
Energy Park, Mr. Maynard.
okay, so it's L-shaped around Rural Riders' place?
Yeah, that big old shed and those
Yeah.
gas wells area, that's all part of the energy park, that's part of the commercial lot B.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Mr. Maynard didn't know that until last year when I talked to him. Another project while Steve was here, we initially talked about, I think, when Penny Salazar was here, a sidewalk along Grand Avenue around that circle curve. It's the Circle to River projects. We tightened the sidewalk that dead ends basically at the end of Valley Village on River and Grand Avenue. Steve, do you want to mention anything?
Yeah, I'm not sure that there's anything more, it's just kind of a little bit of an expensive sidewalk project, because we're gonna have to move it away from the road, and we're getting into that detention pond there, and we're probably looking at the retaining wall along the south side of our sidewalk.
That one that was just painted brown.
Pardon me?
The one that was just painted brown.
Yeah.
Oh, the
fence.
Oh, the fence, oh, okay, yeah.
We're trying to match.
It wasn't fiberglass and sort of white anymore.
I looked at that a couple of weeks ago, and that's what I figured, the only way we put a sidewalk in there is we're going to put a retaining wall.
Then that,
With a guardrail and a handrail.
Right.
Yeah, but I've been wanting this for 3 years, and it's the only way to connect those subdivisions to the main part of the town.
Yeah,
Safety
we all
for the
have.
kids.
it is. This is one, and like Steve said, it's pretty straightforward. He looked pretty hard at it, and we were on site several times. What I do want to add to this is the sidewalk would basically connect to where the sidewalk at Stevens Circle entrance is by that pond. Come down past that first property, and those two, what I call frontage roads of Valley Village, will be used as a walkway. So the sidewalk wouldn't just go all the way down Graham, you'd tie in, then you get away from Graham, walk into the frontage road, then there's another house between the two frontage roads, we have to connect there with sidewalk. So trying to utilize, this does not include a brand new sidewalk all the way from Circle, or Stevens Circle all the way to River. It's most of the way, but we try to utilize the existing, where people already walk and it's pretty safe.
And you can't get a sidewalk at school, matching grant?
I can look into it because the initial one at River was in 2011, 2010, and it was, at that time it was called the TAPS. Then the second one tied into that. I might be able to stretch that as the Safe Routes to School project and get some funding. And it would be an 80-20 grant if we can get that, which would save our costs.
I'm sure there's plenty of homeowners out that way who would like to sign some sort of petition or whatever saying they want their kids to walk to school.
So,
Is there room right there in that corner to put a guardrail and then the sidewalk just on the back side of a guardrail? I keep trying to think of something for safety. A steel fence just does, I'm not sure just how effective it would be. And maybe I'm wrong, maybe a steel fence would be. Is guardrail real expensive to install?
Now we've got guardrail in there right now, in the budget.
Oh, there is?
Yeah. So
And it is
we're planning on a
guardrail,
guardrail
not just
anyway. So and I haven't looked at it for a while, so we must have been thinking about guardrail and then the sidewalk on the side, and there probably isn't enough room without the retaining wall.
Retaining wall wouldn't have to be that large, would it?
No, I don't believe so.
Like
I think
maybe
we were up
3
the hill.
courses?
Yeah, I don't recall exactly. And I don't know that we looked at it all that close, you know.
Depending on the brick.
Because we cannot intrude in that sump too much, can we?
That's right. Because it's a ditch upon.
and over the years, even during the heavy rains, I've never seen much water in there, but there is water.
Yeah.
It's a really popular, snow slide area.
They probably prefer to dig it out more. Okay, the last couple projects before Steve's here, that Steve and David have been working on, we'll start with 12-inch water line improvement proposal on Bass Gibbs. Sorry, this is brand new to the board, so I have to explain this.
Yeah.
You want me to pull it up now?
And also here's the,
Sure, that would probably be good.
so
This might take a little bit of an explanation about the town's water system, and if I'm saying something everybody knows already, just stop me. But the town gets its water from Central Weld County Water District, and their water line comes down Road 25 here to 32 and a half, and there's a master heater right here. And when the master meter, and the way the town system works, there's two water tanks up at the cemetery, and when the master meter's open, it feeds the town, and it also fills the water tanks at the same time. And then when the tanks get full, the master meter closes, and then the town is gravity fed off the water tanks. And what happened is the master meter here, the pressure is higher than we can get out of the tanks. And so when the master meter's open, everybody in town has a little better pressure. When the master meter closes, the pressure goes down, just because the tanks aren't high enough. David, in the summer, runs the tanks at a very small level change, so that the master meter is running more. What we're looking at, and part of the problem is, this fall, or this winter, the middle school, or the elementary schools, they're making improvements down there, and they flow tested a hydrant down there. We didn't get nearly as much water out of that hydrant as I would have expected. We recalibrated our model to go to so it was calibrated against those tests. And what we've determined here is that when the system calls for a whole bunch of water, like in the summer, we're trying to shove a lot of water, especially when the master meter's off, we're trying to shove a lot of water through 3 6-inch pipes that come across the railroad and the highway over onto from the west and east side of town to the west side of town. So what happens is we lose a lot of our pressure just trying to shove a whole bunch of water through there. And so there's one sheet in your packet, I believe.
Do they run side by side, relatively speaking, those 6-inch?
My understanding, there's one that comes across here at Grand, although this map shows 2.
And I think, I was looking at that earlier today, Steve, and I don't think that's right.
I think
We've
so.
only got one that comes across at Grand, one that comes across at Marion, and one that comes across at Goodrich.
I think so too.
And that's where all our line loss is occurring, is in those 6 inches.
Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, we got lines in town here, but that's, when we're trying to, people are trying to water their yards, or we have a fire or something, that's, the pressure drops really quick.
And this was something I talked to David about, and I'll ask you, if we were gonna upgrade to a 12-inch line, why not go 18? Can't we use that 18-inch line to store the extra volume and create, and keep extra pressure?
Well, I don't know that would be a bad deal necessarily.
Because we would still be using, the water wouldn't sit there stagnant, and stagnate, I would think.
Well, yeah, I mean, the proposal, I mean, hopefully at some point we'll have a line coming across on County Road 34. There's talk of developments, Gary Hendricks's property, yeah, and possibly something down south around 66 at some point. So, yeah, we could look at a bigger line. Would that hurt? No, I don't think it would.
Would we get rid of some of those 6-inch lines and just try to incorporate more into one larger line? Or do we don't have the ability to do that?
No, I think we probably could. I hadn't really thought about that. Those 3 6-inch lines equate to about a 10-inch line. That's their equivalent to about a 10-inch diameter pipe. So they're not a bad thing to have there. They're just.
But when you're dealing like that, you don't have. I'm trying to think this. Multiple 6-inch lines isn't going to do what an 18-inch line is going to do.
Like I said,
You're going to have more line loss because of the individual lines, right?
It'll do, area-wise, it's equivalent to a 10. But you're right, friction loss, you got more than you would through a 10-inch pipe.
But one of the things, Steve, that you're talking about that we haven't considered yet or figured out, I mean, Steve just ran these models in the last week and a half or so and figured out that, you know what, a 12-inch will probably do what we needed to do right now. We haven't evaluated a 14, a 15, or an 18-inch line. You asked whether one of those 6-inch could be eliminated while we do something, potentially, because each of those two 6-inch lines that Troy's showing right there that come away from the cemetery, come down from the cemetery, one's on each side of Grand Avenue or County Road 32 as it goes out to the cemetery. So potentially, if we were to attempt to do a project at a low water demand time of year, we potentially could, look at, feeding the town through the other portions while we replaced one of those.
Be a winter project.
And if we were laying one large line, the size of the bore would be bigger. That wouldn't create that much more expense, would it?
Well, yeah, I mean, we're probably looking at a 24-inch bore right now. You get 12-inch, so it's just that much larger. And a bore is $500 a foot or something like that, 24. So it's expensive.
Are we gonna have problems with the railroad from this?
Not as long as we're 13, 15 feet below them.
They've got, the railroad is a little bit better when you're crossing them as opposed to when you're going
Parallel.
in the right of way.
How about the ditches? Are we gonna have any problems with ditch companies?
It would be minor compared to the railroad, I think.
Yeah, we've got.
But more than likely, we would have bores under both of those as well. Although, we might be able to open cut those if we did this in the wintertime when they weren't running any water.
When we put in the 8-inch line from Front Street up to the tank back in 1989, we actually open cut, they let us open cut the ditch for the winter. Put a concrete cutoff on the bottom, so it's possible. I'm not sure there's all sorts of different people that are out back there.
Is this something we need to hit the panic button over, or is this something that we have some time to give consideration to? That's a question to Troy.
That's a load question. Well, things keep coming up. The school district and the bonds and improvements, they've talked to Steve and David. I've been talking to traffic fire department, the old grocery store has been purchased, they can't get fire flow. And in the broad term, we're talking about improving our business district, well, so forth. In my opinion, it's somewhat restricting that to some degree because we don't have the pressure.
And can we look to other areas, to entities to give us matching funds or grants?
Well, this is an infrastructure project, so yeah, I would qualify for a DOLA application, potentially USDA as well.
Well, it makes a big difference in how fast we get this done, probably.
Would it go in line with this, you want to talk about the next one, which is the,
Yeah. There's a sheet, it's a spreadsheet on your packet that shows the town of Platteville water system. I was just kind of going to talk about that a second, maybe give you a little bit of basis as to what we're talking about. The day that the Travis flow tested the hydrant down on Division and yeah, but the one I looked at was the one on Division and Salisbury and Maine. The master meter was closed. David had the water tank at the elevation or level of 32.5 feet, and that's about 14 feet below the maximum level of the tank. And as you can see, if that tank is feeding the town during a maximum day demand, which would be a high demand during the summer when everybody's watering, that's kind of what you could expect. Those two right pressures, that's kind of what you would expect to see in the town, the main part of town. A low of about 37 psi and a high of about 42 psi. And maybe about 500 gallons per minute fire flow is what you can get in that situation. The state of Colorado says you shouldn't go under 35 psi in a water system.
Even during max load?
What's that?
Even during
No,
max usage?
no, you can go down to 20 psi during a fire flow. You can't go below 20. But under normal operations, you shouldn't go below 35. So you can see we're kind of kind of line. When David fills the tank, the next one, you can see the pressure go up a little bit. Makes a difference, 43 to 48 PSI. And if the master meter's open, it helps a little more. So if we go to the next one, the new 12-inch water tank at 32.5 feet, master meter closed, you can see what happens. It's raised the pressures in the system about 10 PSI. Makes a big difference. Plus, it also ups your fire flow to about 1,700 gallons.
That's gravity kind of causes emissions downtown, I mean, fire.
So that is a big plus. The second phase of these improvements would be a new booster station of the water tanks. So with the way this would operate, when the master meter's on, it would feed the town. If the master meter can't keep up, then the booster station would come on. Or if the tanks are full, the master meter goes off, everything coming out of the tanks would go through the booster station. So we could boost the pressure above what it is now.
Is this addition to the 12-inch line, or is that?
Well, yeah, there's, if you look here, we've kind of got different scenarios. We've got one with the new 12-inch water line and the water tank at 32.5. Wait a minute here.
No, I'm just saying, just with the,
Yes.
just put it, like, do we use the 6-inch line connect with the new booster
Okay.
system, or is this?
Okay, so if you go to where it says new booster station, master meter closed, that's if we don't put the 12-inch line in, we just put the booster station up there.
Okay, I have like these numbers for every scenario.
Yeah.
Most of
And
it.
so you can see the pressure in the system goes way up, and the fire flow goes up a little bit. It's still probably not where it should be. Once again, we're having, when we're trying to push a bunch of water through there for a fire, we can't do it. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So,
And then if you add the booster station and the new 12-inch line, that's the next one down. You can see where the pressures are at 77 and 82 PSI and 2,500 gallons per fire flow. So that's,
What is the
Maybe
fire
don't.
flow that we're looking for at the schools right now?
1,500 gallons a minute for 3 hours is what they need above and beyond when they sprinkle the school.
And right now, with the master meter open, the best we're doing is 650 GPM.
Oh, no.
So we're having significant pressure.
Now, yeah, this is the worst case kind of scenario in the middle of summer. So, but that's kind of the way you need to look at things from our standpoint.
During this past year with these changes with the school district and then also with the sale and purchase of the grocery store, these issues come to light. I know that Darko's going in and gets some issues out there with their fire flow as well, but we're looking at between the two of these rough estimates, about $1.5 million project. So again, it's not action tonight, but I need the board to be aware of this, start thinking about we want the budget. And I will keep working with Steve and Dave on looking at some funding options, some grants out there. Again, going back to US, that's why I met with Julie today at USDA. They've got some funding options for both water and wastewater. And of course, DOLA would be an option as well. State revolving loan that David just updated. I don't think we put this on this weekend.
Yep, Steve and I got the numbers put in for it.
So, the numbers are mounting, and I'm gonna go down anytime soon, and for the community, not necessarily to grow, but to we have some water pressure issues, not just storm drainage issues, so.
If I may, Troy, the school district, their architects and their engineers are looking at what they can do to meet their guidelines with what we're able to give them currently.
Right.
So they're looking at whether they have to put some kind of a booster station or something to increase the pressures right there at the schools to run their sprinkler system and that kind of thing. So they're having to look at that. But they may also, to get the fire flows, they may have to look at some type of a cistern or something like that, that they could have the water on site to pump, because the fire flows can't be created with where we're at right now.
Do we know a lot of the, like the lines here, I realize that this isn't to scale or anything like that. Is there any efficiencies that we can draw out of the existing system? Do we have like really short, hard 90-degree turns that could be extended out? I guess what I'm trying to say is hydraulics, because I've been working in it for 40 years. Water is the same way. When we have hard 90s and things, that lessens my pressure and it lessens my flow. Do we have any issues like that going on that we could remedy without spending an exorbitant amount as we're transitioning to something like this? We probably don't know what's down there, correct?
Yeah, what we look at, what you see there is probably about as good as what we've got, yeah.
One problem with that is you got a cost and you don't know what the return will be.
Right.
Right.
Well, and the other thing, to help put some minds at ease, Central Weld will work with us in an emergency situation. They can respond fairly quickly to turn up both the volume of flow and the pressure to raise pressure throughout the town for an interim situation.
Okay, now this is gonna sound silly, maybe probably. If we raise the pressure with all these homes and everything being so used to having the pressure pass, what's that gonna do to our homes?
Well, right now, it's a very good question, Adrian. The question that Todd looked at me and said, will our water lines handle the pressure?
Right.
And that's another question. Typically, I know City of Loveland tries to regulate the pressure going into homes at no more than about 75 to 80 pounds pressure. And that's about what we're looking at trying to get ours up to. Most, I haven't double checked recently, but at one time I talked with a plumber, most hot water heaters and stuff like that are designed to handle 75 to 80 pounds of pressure without significant issues or anything like that. So as far as the homes, if they have semi-updated plumbing, probably would be fine. I do have some concerns about what this may do to some of it. This will expose probably some other water line potential issues that we may have. So there are several aspects to this. This is just the beginning, but because this has started coming to light when we started having the discussions with the schools, started testing, all of a sudden, this is what we're finding. So yes, those are, I mean, part of our long-term goals that Troy went over a few minutes ago was the potential of starting to replace our water infrastructure throughout town.
Yeah.
And this could hurry that curve.
And doing it in phases makes sense based upon the pressure flow. You know, if you look at that chart that Steve gave, if we do the 12-inch line and improve it first, it'll enhance it some, about 10 PSI or so.
Yeah, and, you know, and that may be enough. I mean, you may find that that's...
And that would give us our fire flows.
Yeah, and
in the interim.
to me, that would be the first option, then the second option, if we're still not there, then look at a booster station. I would always rather go for a bigger pipe than a booster station. Always, so.
You're removing parts.
So to break down.
So these are the big projects that, I mean, I talked to Steve about, so the board's aware of it. These are just live issues that we're gonna have to address here in the next few years. These are not long-term by any means, but we're gonna have to talk about this fall and go into the budget. So in the meantime, keep looking at options, but I think this is realistically the only two options regarding water pressure. Because, you know, ideally, if the mass meter came in directly to the water tank, that would make a significant different impact, obviously, but that's not the case here.
So do you think honestly that going into next year that we would have budget, money in our budget to do one or two of these projects?
Not there yet, I haven't looked that far yet. As far as a matching grant for one of these projects, I think we can come close.
Because we got quite a bit of money in some of these funds that we have out there.
Because, yeah, and I'll first review those here shortly, but solely the water fund alone, I don't know if we could pull this off without some capital improvement fund. It'd be pulled out several different funds. And that's with the grant.
And then the problem is, and this is something that we need to bear in mind too, this is an enterprise fund, these are quasi businesses, and we do have to be careful that we don't intermingle funds between the general fund and those enterprise funds, so that does create another level. I question, Steve, the master meter, would, that pressure in there is irrespective of flow, isn't that correct?
That's correct.
So, is there a way that we could use the master meter pressure in town without having water running into the tank?
You could turn off the valves up at the tank, and that would help the pressure. The problem is, you can't.
We can't do it remotely?
Well, you can't get enough flow. Let me back up. You could do that, but then everything from the town, everything from Central Well would have to provide everything. You know, you'd have to meet your peak hour demand, you'd have to meet your fire flow demand.
So we couldn't use the tank, there's nothing that would allow us to use the tank pressure in conjunction with master meter, but not diminish our pressure?
No, because the only way you can pull water out of the tank is when the pressure goes down. Okay. Because the pressure at the meter's such that we can get water up to the tank and fill it. So if the system, the meter's open and the system's pulling a bunch of water out, and in the system it's more water than the master meter can carry, the pressure goes down until the tank can start making up that pressure, that water.
And at 650 gallons a minute, just so you know, I'm running the tanks at a 4-foot deficit right now. Fill them to 47 feet, we close the meter, we open the meter at 43 feet. Takes us 4.5 to 6 hours to drop that 4 feet in the tank once the meter is closed, and it takes us 20 hours to refill that.
Wow.
Okay,
Holy
okay,
smokes.
that's important to know, thank you.
Back in, you talk about running off the master, back in '05 when the big cuts mine fence fire crew, that's what happened before daily time, but I remember his predecessor calling the central welder and having them dump that pressure up the master meter. Because there was no fire flow, the firefighters and stuff like that, and that was a hot fire that day. So,
I've heard a lot about the low pressure. I know it's quite dangerous.
and once in a while, when you see a fire hydrant covered by the fire department with the red, part of it is maybe a leak, but also part of this is meat pressure. So it's been building up to the point to where we're going to have to address it in the near future.
We have an issue at Bella Vista because we have too small lines feeding it, isn't it? Wasn't that an issue we had?
Well, we installed a 10-inch line down Vasquez,
Prior to me getting
15 years ago, and that helped the pressure down there, but it hasn't been the answer to everything. I mean, it helped the fire flows down there, and that was the main reason we put that 10-inch in, because we couldn't get anything down the Bella Vista.
It looks like a 10, 6.6, and then 8-inch.
It's actually a 10-inch to that 6-inch right there, that entrance to the.
Oh, right there.
That's
Right
where
there.
it dead ends, and then it goes to an 8 running south to Calfrac and sits around Bella Vista.
Oh, gotcha, okay.
We have no way of knowing if they're if there's scale or anything diminishing the size of those. Because I always assumed Old Town was probably having issues like that, scale and rust, making the size of the pipe smaller.
So there's something to think about. I don't want to bring bad news for you, man. All right. So is there anything else while Steve's here that we can answer regarding those? I really want to bring it all the way to the board so you start thinking about it before we start meeting in about 3 more months about budget. But usually up until this point, we haven't had any big water sewer funding issues, but now water's actually come first before sewer, which surprises me.
I think we can afford to ask them anything more.
Sorry about that. The bearer of bad tidings.
See, it was a message of the man.
Troy and I didn't have to do this.
He just keeps going on.
Thank you, Steve.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, now this is just a cursory review here, just of our 2017 projects. We had 2 major street projects, 32.5 through Shoals is completed. We budgeted 275, ended up being 163. So that savings you will know was applied for Veterans Memorial. Talk about that here soon. And then patching chips, still patching's done by Snyder Paving. A1 chips will come in, I put June completion, that's not correct, those are opposite. But,
It's gonna be early September.
it's gonna be early September. But we're gonna have a budget savings around 22,000 when that project's done. We talked about sidewalk improvements, in the budget, we put 65,000 for general patching and repairs. And then the option project that we talked about a little bit ago was the Grand Avenue project, or the Circle project, which is around 165,000. This one, probably not in July, but in August, we're gonna need some direction from the board if you wanna use these funds and do some patching this year. And then look at budgeting the sidewalk project for next year, using these funds, or whatever you want to do. But we usually don't do sidewalks until early fall, late summer.
Will you guys be able to give us a list of what parts of the sidewalks you want to get fixed or replaced?
Always, what I put is continue in Old Town, and there's the 2 cul-de-sacs in subdivision we just didn't get to last year because we ran out of funds. Shirley Court and, I can remember that, Catherine Courts. But most of the sidewalks are in Old Town. We're starting to look at some in probably Rogers and Stevens, and we try to isolate the ones as we can. Water projects, I talked to Brad Hagan yesterday. He asked me for impact fee study and some other information, but he's working on a water supply plan that we hope to have it final draft done by July, next month. And I'll have him present that to the board.
Is that an additional water supply besides what we were getting currently from Central Water? Is that what you're?
Just looking at our water options, we're solely dependent on Central Water and Massmere for potable water. And we have ditch rights, we have some well rights, GMF and WASP. So he's looking at basically our water portfolio and coming up with some water options for our future spurt growth. Ball field drilling, this was unanticipated, but the numbers you see, the water fund, a little over 26,000 came out of that. Another 20,000 out of use taxes, 46,000 plus the water project that's been completed. Really topic conversation for tonight is the park improvements. Talk about this one first, over $4 We budgeted money in the use tax. Once we dove into the project, it's gonna cost twice that. So my recommendation is that new parking lot for Coronado, to utilize that field and to add some more parking for the residents. I like to look into that more. Steve Affairs has provided me a cost estimate, it's gonna be closer to $53,000. And of the $25,000, I've already for surveying, which was required, and his design, half that's gone. So, I don't want to forget about this project, but I think we need to roll this on emergency. And then landscaping, irrigation, Rogers Farm. So on the use tax fund is where we put the park project primarily. So on this one, there's some new landscaping irrigation along Rogers Farm as far as the Sturkle area, right, David? Part of it's along Sturkle where there's a stretch of gravel basically between the edge of the roadway and what Journey Homes put in. So we want to finish up that stretch. And then if you envision standing on Sturkle looking west toward the shelter or the playground area, there's that big area on the sidewalk. We'd like to grass that and irrigate that to expand that open space. So that is what this funding is for, that $35,000. It's not going to do everything, but it'll get us started with some irrigation. We may have to seed that irrigate this fall. We'll wrestle with some options. That money's not going to pay for all the sides. The questionable one is the one in the middle of the parking improvements, which is the dog park and split road fence around Rogers Farm. There's $20,000 that was budgeted last fall, and Darko, when they decommissioned the tank battery in the well, said that when if you did go to the dog park, let them know they would assist. I'm not sure what that means, if it's financial or on-site, but that is kind of a topic of conversation, if the dog park should go over there, or something else, such as they slab in basketball goals or something along those lines. What I've heard is both. Since I sent out since the June utility bill was sent out, I've had half a dozen people call me asking when it's going to be built. They want to use it. On the flip side of that, isn't it the best use? People don't use the one we have now. It could be a dog park for Rogers Farm, no one else, I've heard that. And then I got a question, is there another option? Can we do this lab with basketball goals? Last year we put swings in Riverview and Rogers Farm, so now we have to put swings, not just a school. If you drive through Rogers Farm and Stevens Circle, you see a lot of purple basketball goals.
Yes, a lot of them.
So one parent came up a couple months ago actually, beginning of summer, said, can we get just a half slab of goals on each end, put a fence around it, which I've seen before. It probably cost a little bit more than this, but would it be a better use? And some of those parents can probably get rid of the portables and the kids can go to the park. So that's one option that I heard too. So I want to really put this on the agenda for the July 18th board meeting as a discussion and action of which way you want to go. Those are just two options, dog park and basketball. If you have something else, I'd love to hear some options.
Splash pad idea?
Splash pad, again, would that be just a Rogers Farm amenity, or would that be a community amenity? I don't know.
Yeah, and that's one of those tricky things too,
Yeah.
you know? I mean, if you put, basketball hoops in Coronado, I mean, no matter what we do, we're not gonna make everybody happy.
Exactly.
It does have the area, where other parts may not. I don't know, I think it's worth a discussion.
Okay. I can look into between now and July 18th. Remind me, Rick, thank you.
Well, I think one thing you want to look at is young families are over in that area, those new
Yeah.
houses, so there's a lot of kids over there compared to down in Old Town, so that's where the.
Well, yeah, but we've got a lot of families in Bella Vista too that we're not accommodating
Well,
either.
that's what that means, so that's.
Put it up at my house.
So I can look at some preliminary costs with maybe splash pad costs and everything like that, but,
It would be helpful to know what that.
I think it's the board has a rough estimate, if I can probably.
Yeah, I really think basketball.
I know, they have to walk all the way down to the middle school if they want to use basketball court. That's difficult. But, I guess whatever we do, we're just stuck with that no matter what.
Well, if we approach that, this is what we have money for right now, and we are looking at doing more stuff around town. But we
Absolutely.
can't do everything all at once.
Well, no,
Yeah.
absolutely.
No, we can't either, but we can't, we've been doing a lot to the parks on this side of 66, and we're doing nothing for the kids still, right now.
And I have started seeing some kids using Coronado Playground.
Yes.
I didn't for a long time, but I am seeing some use
Coronado?
in Coronado.
Yeah, Coronado has a pretty large playground, not big as big as Lincoln, and
But it's pretty good size.
We took out those old picnic tables and put in a nice concrete one.
Okay, that's
There's no shelter over there.
great. Well, we have recently done improvements to that area. I know that several people have come into a meeting and discussed how they didn't feel safe walking through that park. So I'm assuming since people are using it, we fixed that.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Those
Oh,
narrow
the
sidewalks
sidewalks.
with the dog.
With the
Yeah,
dog.
big dog,
Yeah.
yeah.
Haven't heard anything about that for a while. Is that still?
No, I had talked to Officer Vaughn, I talked to him early in the year about walking those and just checking if there's any animal issues, fence issues. I haven't heard anything, but I felt awful with him that he did walk through it.
If we were gonna redesign that, it would be nice if that sidewalk was wider than 3 feet.
Yeah. The one gentleman that had a dog that did bite, our foreman actually was the last summer or summer before, he did get a fence permit, he did go there. So, Coronado is the one part of our public parks that's really is a subdivision park because of this limitation in this area. Rogers is somewhat that way, obviously, because it's on the very edge of town, so you got two parks at the edge of town, but, Lincoln and Riverview by far are the largest used parks, hands down, because of the location, close to the library, for all kids, of course, the schools, for all kids.
At this point, Old Homestead and Rogers Farm could conveniently share that park because there is sidewalk access.
Absolutely.
Well, that's another idea, is whatever we put in that park is really not just for Rogers, but also for Stevens Circle. Because if you look at, I didn't have done a survey, I'd estimate a good percentage of our student population comes from those two subdivisions.
Right. So they do, and the point is, they do have access.
Well, yeah, and then if you put something new in this town that we don't have, that people are wanting, they're gonna be grateful whether they have to walk across town or drive across town versus having to go to another town.
Right.
You know, that's something to think about too.
My daughter and her girlfriend, they get under those scooters or hoverboards and they go all over town.
All over town, yeah.
And they feel, and I feel comfortable because we have a community where they can do that, you know.
Is that who's on those scooters?
Oh, yeah. You know, but
I was wondering who that was.
stuff out there, they'll go to it. I mean, they go down the library, they go down to the parks all the time.
Yep.
Yeah, they go down to schools, you know, the tetherball and stuff, because
Sure.
we don't have that, you know, but.
Right.
That's why you live in a small town.
So what I'll do is I'll put Rogers Farm Park improvements on the July 18th agenda for discussion on options on what to pursue. Now, as far as the landscaping irrigation, I'll just tie that in all together because that's all one project basically.
Can we do anything with that area that had the wellhead that Anadarko evacuated? Is that have to stay open space or?
No, it's our property now, it's completely decommissioned, so we would,
You know what I'd like to see there? I've already got vision, I'd like a nice gazebo in the middle with some trees around it, would be, you know,
well, on Outlaw B, Outlaw A was a park, Outlaw B is what the gas head was, the gas well, and that's what I was thinking too, was like an octagon gazebo with some trees, right? People don't want a playground or dog park in that area, but if it's just a
something to gather,
area
have
where
a
people
picnic
can
and.
casually gather or something, I don't know. But it's just seeded natural grass right now, but I haven't really focused on that really well. We're just gonna,
I didn't know if we could do anything there.
yeah. Anadarko did when they decommissioned, they dug out 6 inches, closer to 8 inches of that road base, because underneath that was all road base. Moved it over to build tank battery and built that up. Because we know whatever we do in Rogers Farm Park, we're gonna have to add more parking. Because right now, this last year, I think some youth soccer teams practice over there at the little times.
Yeah,
And they ran out of room to park. So
yeah,
we're gonna
there
have to-
wasn't enough room for everybody.
So,
Where was that at?
It's on the
Well-
south side of the park, right by the shelter. Yeah, it's not really designed for a ton of parking, and then we're parking in front of people's places.
so we're probably
Kind of
putting
what happens in a small town though.
parking over there. Vehicle fleet, got new police truck for the police department, as you can see, it was a little over $42,000 for the new C-Mac truck, we paid a little over $7,300. C-Mac, CDOT paid $35,000. And I haven't seen one of those programs come out lately, but when it does, I'll bring it back to the board, prior to 2018. Planning and development, we're wrapping things up with the annexations. The comprehensive plan right here is done, obviously. We received some DOLA funding, administrative grant, $25,000, which is a match. On the 18th, the subdivision for the Nelson property. It will be in front of the board, subdividing and zoning, and then in August, we're gonna start the petition to complete the annexation on 66 to the St. Vrain River. So there'll be a compliance resolution on August 1 for the board to start that next step of 66 annexation to the river. So 21 is all but done, we're in the waiting period. And do you remember when that expires, Mary? Is it 60 days, 90 days?
Well,
Now that we
when it
annex.
expires, or when it's completed?
When it's completed, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
not expired, that's not a good term.
30 days from the date that the ordinance goes
So we're-
into effect, so it's 60 days from approval, plus the lag from approval to publishing. That's clear as mud.
So, it's the end of next
About
month.
65
I think Kendra told us
is
70 days.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay, so that's just a quick review. Public facilities, we already talked about the senior project, senior citizen. We put some funds in the police impact fund for 10,000 for a new storage shed. If you look at this old shed out back, it's falling apart, a big hole in it. They do need outside storage, and what we picked up for the rec department over at the ball fields for the band cage is, it's held up very well, very sturdy. It's within that price range, about 5,000 to 8,000, depending on what size. We just haven't pursued anything yet because we're looking at the whole plan for town hall property. I'm not sure where to put it. It needs to be inside a fence, because there's bicycles, because of marijuana laws, we have to sort that product once in a while, and just bigger items of evidence that we cannot get inside town hall, obviously.
Can I ask why you have to have a concrete pad? You could make a bigger shed if you just made one that was on skids.
We can look at it, I never thought of it.
For $10,000, you probably could get, 2-story ones.
We just don't know where to put it yet, but when we get to that point where Dave and I'll approach about a schematic or a draft site plan, to expand public works, maybe have another bay, modify some fencing. I like to get rid of the chain link. At least the barbed wire has to go. That makes no sense whatsoever. The town bans barbed wire, the town lets Platteville Town Hall have barbed wire.
Right.
Makes no sense. So.
I thought that's the way politics work. The government makes the rules, they all live by them.
That's right.
Privacy fence, we budgeted $17,500 to build a new privacy fence along this property on the north border with the fire department. We haven't pursued that yet because, again, we're gonna put it all together in a package plan. But by the end of next month, we have to, the fire department in the town has to build the fence around the Aspen apartments. And Dave's gonna get bids for that. We'll only pay for our portion on the south side of the property, fire department will pay for the east and the north side of the fence. So roughly a fourth, give or take.
Who's gonna move all that dirt?
That's on the way.
There's no dirt in the way for that.
That one big,
No, it's
Just
just,
outside the apartments over there.
For the stuff around the apartments.
oh, I thought you were gonna go across the
If
property.
we go across, there's a very small amount of that pile that would have to be moved.
Oh, okay.
I'm gonna get to the meeting, that's the way I go.
Well, what they do, I mean, do we really want to fence across the back of our property? You know, if the fire station has nice landscaping, can we tie our property and stuff into that, only fence what we need?
true, we just don't know what we're gonna do yet, so we're gonna put it on hold. Because I don't know what kind of time frame the water district is going to pursue their project. Hopefully property tax increases again next year. That's what they're banking on. They're banking on,
Oh, is it?
pay this as they go. I talked to Chief Ricker. And finally, the Veteran Memorial Project, just some quick updates. I talked to Jim Nelson yesterday. All the excavation has been completed, and yesterday, he had the concrete brought out and poured the initial footers for the shed. And then he'll start working on doing the blocks next week. Talked to Mike Evans, he and Jim Nelson are gonna coordinate, because when Jim Nelson gets to a certain point on the shed, he's gonna coordinate with Mike to come in and put the conduit for the electrical and the irrigation. And Mike and I talked before the meeting tonight about those cost estimates. plus our camera company, our camera vendor, and our IT vendor met today to talk about. We're basically gonna have 4 security cameras up at the Veteran Memorial. There's gonna be a lot on the backside, on the east side, and then 3 along the entrance on the parking. So we can cover everything that you can possibly imagine. But all 4 cameras are gonna run through conduit connected to a power source in the shed. So it'll only beam down to town hall to our DVR 1 time instead of 4 times. Saves me about $3,000 to do it that way. And conduit's a lot cheaper than $3,000, so.
Will the police be able to monitor?
On their MVTs. Yeah.
Okay, good. Because that's been a problem now with community center, isn't it?
Yeah, and that, David just sent Carl the link off those MVTs, right, on the,
Great.
it just depends what the officers are doing though. If they're busy, they're not gonna be watching cameras.
Right.
But we're, excuse me, with the number of cameras that we have right now, which I think we're at 12 or 14, we're recording almost 3 weeks worth of data right now. Okay. So even if the officers aren't able to monitor at that moment, or, I mean, the cameras are recording everything that's going on right now, including this room, but we can go back and look at that for the last 2 minutes, for the last 2 weeks. The more cameras we add to the system, the quicker the storage that we have, it'll start to overwrite that storage. So eventually, as we continue to add cameras to the system, we will have to increase that storage to maintain our 2 to 3 week capacity.
Well, and as the Veterans Memorial gets closer and closer to completion, it's going to become a more and more tempting target. So the closer we keep an eye on it, the more comfortable I'll feel.
Triple Stone, the engraving's underway. It has been for a couple of weeks. Mile High Play Systems, the shelter's been ordered. We're just waiting. So we're looking at end of July, early August, probably early part of August. The shelter will probably be installed first, and then before the stone's done. United Red makes us supplying the concrete at cost, basically. Of course, Mr. Evans. So it's moving forward. The next step is once that conduit electrical in the shed is built, then Jim Nelson will schedule the flat work to be done with his subcontractor, basically. It's all under his contract. So, and then John Jameson went up there and did final excavation and put that down to grade. So it's moving forward. We're hoping for an August or September completion, depending on weather and everything else. All the stones are being engraved outside, so that's really key. Their facility over reminds of an outside quarry that he etches and engraves those stones. So if we have a monsoon July, then this one's delay the project. So I just threw in here a list of proposals that I've heard last year and also this year. Patching chip seal starting REIT subdivision. If we keep moving forward on, that's really the last one left. Grand Avenue, I have some cost estimates I'll bring up to the board during the budget. When Pat Hill made that cost estimate initially, he broke it down into 32.5 to grand, which is circle. We did that last year. And then from where we left off the circle to 85, right here by Town Hall. And now I'm getting complaints on how this looks because that looks so nice. And then the last one would be from the 85 past to the cemetery to town limits. So just so you know, we bring Grand Avenue improvements to the board during budget, on top of all the other stuff we have.
Let me ask you this, we've been doing a lot of patch and chip seal for years. At what point are we going to have to just, mill it up and repave it? Because if you go down Division, down by the school, there's cracks and bumps, and it's a pretty rough road.
Yeah.
So at what point, how much do we keep on going on? Are we getting into the point here soon to where we should just mill it up and repave some of these areas? Is it going to be cost effective?
If the money's there, and that's why we started the patch and chip seal program. Because if you mill and overlay, you're going to do very little compared to we paid less than half to patch and chip the whole town than we did for quarter mile strip. So
But I'm saying, like, how many times can we patch a seal and have all these cracks and all this tar in the road in these cracks? And then, so how much longer are we gonna be able to do that to where we just have to bite the bullet and repave that themselves?
If I may.
Go ahead.
The little bit that I've learned over the last 10 years or so, with dealing with this, is that a chip seal gives us a 7 to 10 year extension on the roadway. The problem is several of the roadways in town are already 40 years old, and most roadways are designed for a 25 to 30 year life. So we've been fortunate to get out on what we have. We're able to chip seal for somewhere in the neighborhood of 15 to 20% of the cost of reconstruction. So it's a multifaceted question, just like looking at the water, what do we do? Do we do a 12-inch, do we do a booster pump, do we, all of those things. Right now, what we're trying to do, and what our contractor did, like along Goodrich Avenue, there were several spots that we had them patch the really bad areas, but then there were several spots that were still alligator that were not in great shape, but the subsurface is held together some, but the pavement is starting to alligator, and now that we patched over here, it's gonna go bad over here kind of thing. But by putting a double chip seal in that area that we're looking at, we're gonna buy 7 to 10 years of life, and he put in some areas a 1/4 to a 1/2 inch skip over some of that. That will eventually reflect through, that alligatoring will come back through. But he smoothed it up enough so that we can put the chip seal on it. If I had my way, we would do a mill and overlay instead of a chip seal every time. But, we just spent $163,000 doing a 1/4 mile stretch of roadway up here on 32 and a half. And we are going to do all of Division in a double chip seal, all of Goodrich from Division to River in a double chip seal, and then all of Elizabeth and Marion and Liberty and Frank Place with a single chip seal, and all of River and Goodrich Court for about the same amount of money that we just built that hole. So
I've seen some towns, and it's, where they go through and they heat up, they mill it, and they heat it up, and they lay it back down and pave right over it. I mean, have we looked at the cost to do something like that? Or?
you mean basically where they use a miller to go in and use that, and then it come back in and just use that as their base and lay right back over the top?
They go back through a heater, heats it up, and they lay it back down through a paper.
So
there's no new asphalt, they just use existing asphalt.
They did that on 85.
Part of the problem
But
is a lot of
they're
our-
not doing it anymore, so there must be some reason. I don't know what it would be.
Part of that process, Troy, is that they do heat it up, but they also add an emulsifier to it that brings the oils out and kind of causes them to adhere again. When we had looked at using some of our recycle, and we attempted to do that on Reynolds Avenue 3 years ago, 4 years ago, 3 years ago.
I thought it was
Is it only 2 years ago? Time flies when you're having fun.
Because some of it took and some of it didn't.
Well, and part of the problem there was the contractor that put that on there for us, they just applied the emulsifier to the top, hoping it would permeate, whereas when the county had been doing it, they applied the emulsifier to the whole product as they laid the product back down. So basically, what you're talking about is a step that goes in, it's a mill and overlay to a certain extent, except that they're just milling it up, re-emulsifying it, and then laying it right back down. To answer your question whether we've looked at what those costs are, no, but the last time I checked with the county when they were using the recycled, when they did County Road 25 up past, up to 34, going past Garden Court and Shoals up there, their costs were somewhere in the neighborhood of 75% of new. So our chip seal is still the best bang for the buck for the time being. But yes, this is, we're not trying to kick the can down the road, but we are trying to do what we can with what we've got for the time being, so.
And part of the chip seal program, the first one we did was Bella Vista, and that was in, I think, 2011.
10 or 11?
because the capital improvement fund was established in November of '09 during the special election, so the revenue started coming in 2010, so we didn't start using money until 2011. And at that time, just going back, the board felt that there was so much that had to be done. Chip seal and patching was the way to go, so all the streets could be touched within a handful of years, while we're saving up money to do the nicer, smoother streets. And that's
Well,
what-
and in the midst of that, we did Dan's Place and Salisbury.
And
we've
some,
done
I
32
mean,
and a half.
Division was a full reconstruction from
Yeah,
Reynolds.
Division ended up costing about $500,000.
And then we did some blocks, but you're right. My kids hate chip seal because older players with skateboards are horrible. Absolutely horrible.
But, so we're down to only one road, Reynolds, which was really not finished.
Reynolds and the Reed subdivision, which ties in, I mean, that's really the last area, other than Front Street, but the last residential area that has not been touched in 5 years.
Yeah.
I mean, up in Scholl, you have the 2 streets, they're cracked still, but, and then now you have 32 and a half that's been paved, but we haven't done much more up there either.
No, but that's in amongst all the chip seal. So I think they're getting down.
So that's kind of where we're at this point now, so it just kind of depends on the funds, and if it's a good year, we can actually reconstruct roads, and we can pursue those.
And you said we're going to double chip seal?
On Division and Goodrich, because that's truck, not a trucker on Division, that's just high capacity road on Division. The other side streets like Elizabeth,
We had discussed it, I just wasn't aware that we, okay. And that's perfect, I think that, I really support that.
So we talked about Reynolds a little bit already, also Front Street. Sidewalks, we've already had conversation on these. One thing I put in here, potential grant applications, I'll probably have to go to 2 different types of grants if I can find them. The one would be the Grand Avenue one, which is what we talked about with Steve Thayer's. The other one would be basically from Reynolds all the way to where we basically all the way to Goodrich, where the sidewalks is. So finish that whole stretch. Because we have the handicap ramps already in, but again, those would be grant opportunities if I can find the money for those.
Which side of the street was it, on Division?
Well, it'd be interesting, because the handicap ramps are really
On one side, there's one each side.
on each side. So if you come off Reynolds, which would have a sidewalk, curb and gutter, you go down, probably here to Town Hall, probably cross and then go back to the east side and then go down. I don't know. I mean, that's just my guess.
We're gonna have to do something because those sidewalks, those corners are stalling so badly. And we may not have any sidewalks left by the time we get done building, or get to building new sidewalks.
Town hall site plan mentioned that, we need to just incorporate different things when we propose that to the board this fall. I already talked with Steve Thayer's about these 2 projects, the water pressure pump, the 12-inch line.
Question on this, on the water. Are we under any kind of statutory pressure, legal pressure, or is this something we need to do to upgrade the town system so we are more efficient? We're not violating any statutes or anything by having pressure issues, are we?
Steve mentioned that the lowest recommendation is what, 32 feet, 35 feet? We're getting close.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a statute issue or not. Well, these statutes trigger more drinking water.
Expect the fire department because they got so much pressure in it. If you have that kind of pressure in that, like if somebody wanted to do something under pressure, that puts sprinkler system in.
Which is the fire department needs, what pressure?
More
Pressure are they looking for?
requirements, but I know Gilchrist has a huge issue with water pressure there, and they shut down a lot of their hydrants because they don't have much water pressure.
Oh, really?
And I don't know what when I talked to Travis, the hydrant there, on Marion by the old grocery store, he said it was about half of what the fire code requires on that pressure fire hydrant.
Well, that's odd, because that's close to a 6-inch line. Isn't it, David? Isn't that pretty close to a 6-inch line?
It probably is fed from a 6-inch line. It may only be a 4, some of the older sections of town, but fire hydrants were only on 4s.
It begs the question, is there a different issue if we're on something like that?
I can say, because the hydrants all the way throughout the town have pressure issues at some point, so we're looking at a townwide approach. Instead of just an isolated,
Right.
main line that's got an issue, maybe a leak or a piece of it. And as far as the sewer again, until we get our permit back and find out what we have to do, approach the board about that screen system that Mr. Bears designed through that DOLA grant. See if that could be an application that we can pursue. So whether we stay Lagoon or go mechanize, it's still gonna be an asset regardless.
Yeah. And that would be a DOLA match?
It would qualify for DOLA grant. Right now, we have about 5 DOLA grant applications that we're looking at.
We've got somebody say no.
What about a GoPro for parking?
GOCO would qualify for park improvements.
Splash pad?
Yeah, definitely splash padding, kind of improvements. Those, they're called mini grants, Great Outdoor Colorado mini grants. And they go to $50,000, $25,000 match, or you get up to the mini grant, which is easier. You have to do what is equivalent to their tier 1. And that's a higher application. But I will say, the last one we did was at the ball fields. That's when I first took over as town manager, they were finishing up those lights. Because of the way that was done, and Ms. Measure GOCO told me point blank, they would not invest any more money into their complex.
But if we wanted to come
But if we go somewhere
over
else,
at Coronado or,
they would,
yeah, right.
they would. Because that grant was supposed to do the lights for both fields.
Right, and if that's why we are missing a light or something.
We're missing the 3 lights, the 4 lights that are required for the east field. Because at the time, they measured wrong. They measured the infield dimensions to the outfield dimensions.
Oh, wow.
So either here or there, but it's a done deal.
That's all I want for Christmas is a screening plan.
Then storm drain, planning development, I don't really have anything planning development proposed yet for next year. Parks we've already hit on, so. So most of the conversations will be coming up this fall, but I wanted to update you primarily on the projects for this year. A couple are going to be on hold until the 18th when we have a meeting conversation, really part items. And then start thinking about projects for 2018. And I'll start looking at grants opportunities. And then let me finish up with the budget. I didn't want to spend a lot of time on the actual budget part.
Are we going to do the review of water and sewer fees?
Water and sewer.
Yeah, not to be scared.
Sorry. I thought about doing a spreadsheet, and I thought, well, many times some of you have questions on the actual financials, so I'm not going through all 75 pages by any means. But I'm going to, and I apologize, I want to scroll down to a couple of key points. On page 3 of your financials, when you get them, you'll see the summary sheet. So right now, at the end of May, because obviously we're not at June yet, we're looking at about $2.5 million in fund balance, and a little over $3 million in total liabilities and equity. Year-to-date revenues or expenditures is about $500,000, but our big projects aren't paid for yet. So just keep that in mind.
That's going to absorb that, isn't it?
You know, it'll absorb it, but we're also going to have cash flow coming in still too. So as far as specific general fund revenues, some things I highlighted. Our property tax, most of it's in, which is our biggest revenue. So we have to take, obviously, keep that in factor to mid-year. Our sales tax is whole page now, and at the end of May, we're at 41% of the fiscal year. Okay? So keep that percentage in mind. Total taxes, we're doing pretty good overall. Licenses and permits, I highlight building permits. There's a lot of building going on except accessory structures and home add-ons, so we're down a little bit on building permits. We're below the 41% threshold. Intergovernmental, our user tax fund is our biggest revenue, which is 146. Based upon what David submits to the state, based upon our lane miles, right? Lane miles and allocation is getting flat. So this will end up catching up. Keep in mind that some of these are paid monthly or some are paid quarterly. Our severance tax, we won't know until August. Mineral lease, actually doing better than we anticipated during budget. It's a little bit higher because oil and gas started to come back a little bit. Road bridge, same thing from county. Then charges for services, this is all miscellaneous items from street lighting, to community event, building rental, baseball rental, rec fees. The bottom line over here is we're not too bad, we're over 41% for the year. These are fairly consistent for the most part, not all. And municipal court and police department, a little bit behind schedule on our fines, but they will catch up, trust me. Slightly behind schedule.
Everybody heard, take it out.
I know, we gotta get everything back to the...
Good thing I ride a bike, I can't speed.
Looking at our miscellaneous, these are contracts with Gilchrist, to the school district, our donations. One thing I want to highlight right here, where's it at? Miscellaneous revenue. Why that's so upside down is, what was, a dollar refund for their comp plan was refunded in their by accident, so that's money's gonna come out. That's gonna go back into where it needs to be. I looked that up today. Actually, Lauren did. And Deb printed it, so the team approved it. And our grant, so that's why the dollar grant comp plan has zero, the money needs to be transferred to the right account. United Way gave us $3,200 instead of $4,000 this year. That goes toward the scholarships that Reggie maintains. Development build back from what we budgeted. We're getting money back from our developers on reimbursement agreements, so that's going well. A lot of site plans this year with most of that's working on. Willow Creek, Bay State Milling, TJT, so forth.
Willow Creek. Are they ever gonna, is that ever gonna come to fruition, or is this a site plan?
2 weeks ago, I signed a site plan, I gave them 6 months.
Okay.
6 months. Or I'm gonna revoke the site plan and send the court.
Okay.
This 12,000 right here, there's a unique with West Farm. And this is kind of a 38 development reimbursement. What I asked Lauren today about this, we do a cost allocation to West Farm based upon this really unique calculation when we did the annexation. That based upon a percentage of our street fund and what we use for maintenance and patching, they pay us a very small portion of that percentage. So most of this is from West Farm. This is their annual allocation that they pay. Dave Jensen, secretary, pays to us.
That's kind of 38.
It says 38, but it's been put in here because there's no line item for it.
Oh,
Okay, okay,
I just want to explain that to you.
okay.
So we go into budget, I'm gonna have to do a separate one for 32 and a half and 38.
Okay.
Just so you know, Dave and I are working with a developer, not a developer, but Limkeys, that bought, is it a third or two-thirds of the Gilchrist Reservoir. That's the end of 38. Somewhere two-thirds. Probably two-thirds for water storage. Aurora bought the other, City of Aurora bought the other part. But they're wanting to start mining that operation, several hundred trucks a day potentially. So we just had Pat help update the maintenance improvements for 38, and we're gonna meet with them and tell them, for our agreement with Gilchrist Reservoir, that they now transfer to them, they now have it, we're gonna require some upgrades that they pay for. So, I don't know what that will be yet. So 41% of the year, total fund, general fund revenue is at 57%, so we're doing well, at close to the halfway point, as long as things stay consistent. And keep in mind, the property tax is 3 will pay that, that's the biggest revenue source. I'm not going through every one of these. Legislative, I think CML threw us over 41% probably, I'm not sure. Our court, doing fine. The mayor, doesn't look like he spent a lot of money.
good job.
The mayor gets it taken away, he doesn't spend it.
So, if you look in your, I'm not gonna go through all these, if you look in your financial packet, what we do, or what I do, is I look at, not just numbers, but percentages. You know, David usually, in all his departments are way below this time of year, except for streets, which is where the projects come out of. And then I look at planning and zoning, we're way over, because we're doing more than we anticipated as far as the annexations, which I'm fine with, but this number will start slowly tallying off because the big projects are coming to an end. Annexations are done. We're almost done. The biggest one is comprehensive plan. Again, you have to consider there's money coming in on the revenue side that offsets some of these funds. Upstate Colorado, we pay the manual dues of $3,000 based upon our per capita. Police department's doing pretty well. Carl's a penny pincher, 30%. SRO. Okay, here's the streets. This is the biggest one here. Your $250,000 is about ready to come out for patching when the time comes, and chip sealing. Crack sealing's already been paid for. But still, 16%. I'd say Dave's paying attention to. We've been spraying mosquitoes, but nothing's come out yet. We started early this month, so we're gonna go, what was it, 450 a week application, Dave? So we just gave them, roughly a dozen weeks, so we just stayed in the budget, so come in.
That's a difference too already.
You feel like a major.
In the harvest days, we'll double spray their harvest days, like we usually do. Parks, under budget, again, very conservative there. Community building, we're not doing much to community building, because obviously I'm holding back on anything that we spend over there, and it's not on the budget anyway, it's only $20,000. Because I want to put some improvements in that building next year.
We haven't been renting that out much, have we, lately?
Yeah.
Have we?
Not lately, up until May we did, but midsummer usually tails off.
I just think I've seen much.
There was a family in there all day Saturday from
Yeah.
7 to 7.
Wow.
There was. Then they were very good about cleaning up or not making a mess in the first place because it wasn't bad Sunday. It was actually pretty clean, the outside.
The rec department, they're doing pretty good, 38%. When I look at these, just so the board knows it, I look at all the line items, pretty much from benefits down, so starting at like concession supplies and supplies. When I look at it each month, when I get from David Green, I look at, some of it goes in flows, like in the admin. Most of our supplies and our dues and subscriptions will hit 90% by the end of March. That's when we order everything. So just, those are some of the things to keep in mind when I look at this budget.
On the uniforms, Troy, it's been a few years since they did a major purchase. Is that something that probably we're going to be looking for in the next year or two?
Well, I've been watching what they've been ordering, and I talked to Reggie actually last month in May. I saw a number of uniforms being ordered. She said they are starting to wear out, so they're starting to replace uniforms in each sport that they go. And baseball, for example, when I coached a few years ago, we could really make one team. Now there's a lot of times there's two teams now in each age group. So it just depends on the year. Because you can't just order 20 uniforms for the 10-year-old baseball team, because next year you can have two teams, you need 40. So it just depends, too.
Well, it seemed like it's been a while since they've made a major purchase.
Yeah, it has. So the seniors are doing well, 100% for the year. Museum, obviously, the place don't spend money. The contingency reserve is very low. As you, I want the board to know, we're going next year on the increase, I'll at least double this back up to where it needs to be. 25,000 contingency is done. At one point, we used to have $100,000 contingency.
Is that a contingency across the entire general fund?
Yep. Remember a few years ago in January, we had a surprise from dispatch that said you had to replace all your MVTs? For like $27,000, we had a different contingency to pay for that.
Well, I remember the contingencies used to be higher the first year I was on the board. We had to do some major cutting, and that has been the first thing to take a hit every time we cut.
Yeah. So at the end of the expenditures of general fund, we're at about 32%. So our revenue's about 57, expenditures are 32, at 41% of the year. So we budgeted about $2.6 million to spend in general fund. We spent about $830,000. That number will go up once we start paying for street projects. But, doing well so far. I'm gonna skip the library, I wanna go to a couple of these specifically. And I wanna show cemeteries doing fine, use tax. Okay, first of all, Conservation Trust, this is a lot of money that's coming in. In the past, we used to use this extensively for parks. Now it's just limited to two things: rec ball field maintenance and Tree City USA. Because we almost basically ran this fund out of existence. So we scaled back, and now it's actually sitting pretty good. We go back up. I'm sorry, my computer doesn't work all the time.
Tree City USA is just a five trees to plant trees.
Yeah.
We have to spend so much to maintain the title.
We have to spend, I believe it's $2 per citizen. So it's about over $5,000.
And that would be tree maintenance, tree planting,
Tree trimming,
you know,
irrigation.
miscellaneous. There's not all 5,000 in the
Tree removal?
Tree removal counts as all town property.
I have a question on that, along that vein. Those trees that are on the west side, you know, by the new well, on that west property line, how do they get water?
There's a drip system in it.
We seem to lose them with frightening regularity. Is
We've
there a
got two or
reason for that?
three that we have replaced in a similar location, moved just slightly because we don't know why we're losing them right there. I think we've got 3 in there that are looking pretty peaked right now.
Yes.
And
Well, these last couple of
We got
years,
prairie
been hard
dogs
on
next
trees,
door.
in particular here in Platteville. We had that November freeze that hit, and then we had just that late snowstorm this year killed a lot of trees.
Well, and in the wintertime, when we don't get snow, we're gonna lose water from, you know, what I think you guys do, and, you know, we have to be on top of that too.
well, we try to be more on top of that with the newer ones. We don't get to the existing ones
Yeah.
as well as we should probably, and that's part of it. And they are on the drip system that comes off of that well. So,
It just seems like they've been very vulnerable for a long time. Once they take, they seem to do
they do
well.
great,
But
Well, and I've seen a couple of them with holes right at the base of the tree from the prairie dogs.
they won't let me shoot them.
I know. They love those trees.
When they planted up,
go there, shoot them.
Lumberjanes planted a bunch of trees up there, did you see that? Lumberjanes, they planted a bunch of trees.
Yeah, because 2 weeks ago I called Stacy Coleman, the regional manager, and I said, "See your site lady," and he said, "No, I'm coming there this week." And he called me on Monday, he said, "It'll be corrected immediately."
Yeah, they got
They
that prairie.
replaced all those trees, took their prairie dogs,
Yeah.
and mowed. Use tax is set pretty good at 141. This is where we budgeted most of the park improvements. And we go down to expenditures. So, we have the dog park, we're gonna talk about missing expenditures, is some of that landscaping and trees over there we talked about. The HVAC system, the one we haven't replaced, is that the one above our heads on this side of the building?
Well, we replaced 3 of the 4 up there,
3 of the
so
4.
I don't remember which one does what zone. I think it's for this, I think it's this room, I think you're right.
So we put that in there annually just to ensure we had the money when it goes so well. And when I mentioned earlier, Coronado Park, because it was CDOT right away, initially when we budgeted this last year for $25,000, we were just something gonna go in there, put in a culvert, expand it. But once I talked to CDOT, we had to do the permit process, special use permit process. Then we had to survey it, which is unanticipated. Surveying costs a few $1,000. And then the design, so I'll discuss this again in a few months for 2018. Most of these funds, if you just glance in your, I don't like to kind of go through all of them, but as far as mid-year review, we're doing pretty good in pretty much all of our funds. As far as what they used to be, can they be better? Obviously so.
law enforcement is running a surplus?
Well, because I played with this the last few years, a portion of the Gilchrist and escrow contracts going here, which it should. And then the surcharge, 24%, $6,000. That is 37% of every fine that goes in municipal court in Platteville goes to this fund. This is victim services surcharge. And they're just down tickets right now, but they'll go up. But that's, yeah, it's actually a surplus, about $7,000.
They have some new videos or something for purchasing.
Well, if you go into expenditures, that was the CMAC vehicle purchase. Next month is police equipment line item, we maxed out because the bill for advanced wireless came in. Equipping the vehicle costs more than the vehicle purchase. It's $10,000.
That, what Carl had, that training last week, is that paid for out of this fund?
He has a line item in the general fund as far as the police department for general training. This is more specialized training.
Okay.
Sergeant Todd, basically, I call him, Edgar, just last week completed, or 2 weeks ago, completed a skill training officer program. That's a Warwood school. That kind of specialized training comes out of this.
Okay, so operational training comes out of a different fund?
Yes.
Okay, yes, thank you.
Harvest days, actually I didn't bring the spreadsheet, but, that's 17,000 in there. Right now, donations over 7,000 so far. Thanks to Adrian, and I have stuff for golf.
Wow. Good job, Adrian.
Well, and I'll be visiting places too, between this week and next week.
You gonna have to go pass the hat or have a tin cup?
If, you know, in the past, I was able to go visit places and give them the invitation to the luncheon. But this year, the luncheon fell early, and some things didn't work out, and so it's different. That's what I use to break the ice, but I know people more now, so.
Actually, tomorrow, Mary and Dave and I are going to go visit with Tyler Tarpley, the facility manager at Coyote Creek Golf Course, and we're going to discuss how we're going to lay out the tournament next month. As far as registration table, the banquet. They always call it banquet, it's a hot dog and hamburger feed, it's pretty good, sorry. This is what it is.
Are you gonna be the one grilling?
No.
No, they're gonna do that for you, right? They're gonna cook
Do you have
for
any
you.
artists registered yet, or?
We have about a dozen teams registered. My goal is 18, so every hole in the course. And we have about the same amount as, roughly about 10, I think, sponsors. But some teams like Anadarko, they'll do a $1,000 sponsorship, which includes a team. And some places like, Miss Bethers with Northern Engineering, they did a $500 sponsorship, so they get recognized on one of the sea boxes, but there's no team. So there's different levels. But it's actually doing pretty well. Actually, my wife and her friends, your wife, by the way, you know that. They're going to do listening Walmart, Kmart, Safeway, Kings to get door prizes. And we have one lady that thinks they can get some free Rocky tickets, either 2 or 4 pack, for the donation, as a door prize, and then you do raffle. So,
Don't say raffle.
not raffle, it's an equal drawing, okay? Everybody has equal chance. Right, Mary? So, I'm looking forward to it. The only thing is, I don't know if it'll be 75 or 105 that day. Because it's July 28th.
So he's not taking his clubs tomorrow.
No, I'm not.
I still can't believe he's gonna let somebody touch his grill.
When he said that they would grill and provide all the food at the cost that he was giving me, I'm not going to do it. 'Cause I'm not going to have marine ladies do all that, no more. Just so you know, the front office, I've asked them to manage the registration table. So when you go in, you register, you get your goodie bag, you buy your mulligans, give them a bottle of water, their snacks and stuff like that.
I do have a goodie bag.
My wife's going to work on it. I really don't have much right now.
I need to talk to you.
Okay. Yep. Rest of these funds, like, I mean, there's not a whole lot of change to these, so what I'm gonna do is go right down to water first or sewer?
Sewer.
Okay. Excuse me, David Green did a 3-year analysis, a very simple analysis of our water and sewer funds, so I'm gonna go grab those, because I forgot to make copies, and I'll be right back. You want to take a 2-minute break, Mayor?
I will.
Okay.
Thank you very much. You woke me up. Smoke him if you got
You learning anything, Rick?
Getting there. How the water bill keeps going up, so I have to pay for all this other stuff.
You don't get a water bill, you get a utility bill every month.
Is that right?
It includes your water, it includes your sewer, it includes...
All this, and some sidewalk, it includes the street light, you know, but,
Oh, I'm gonna hit the head before they call us back to order all the control.
Yeah.
you ride your bike much? Saw one day you had it out there.
Yeah, we rode Saturday morning for a while. I was ever out riding. So on Saturday, went to the Harley in Greeley, and then went to Johnstown and came back, and then on Facebook I saw somebody spread there in 60 and 46. There's a bunch of like folk runners going out there. I don't know if you, just before you hit the bridge, there's that turn off that goes toward the cell.
Yes,
46.
I know the one you're talking
Somebody
about.
must have turned at the last minute or turned out in front of a bike and like 2 or 3 bikes.
They, a
closed
lot of
down.
times,
One was
don't
killed.
stop there.
Where was that?
60 and
Right at that, yeah.
Yeah, so it was,
I've seen more people, a lot of people doing rolling stops there, because it's so wide. Hey, when I ride, I act like everybody's out to get me. And usually every trip, somebody it's odd how they just don't see us.
it's just like, we were coming back from Johnstown over the bridge, came over the bridge, and somebody did the rolling stop right through on that county road there, next to the river. It turned right in front of us, you know, like, whoa! But just like, they didn't even look up over the bridge when they just came up. Whoa.
Yeah. When I started riding again, after a period of time, there wasn't near as many people out here, so it was a lot better. There's a really nice ride. You take 34, and then you take the Orchard turn off, and then ride through, there's the back road, ends up at Log Cabin, and then ride to Sterling. That's a nice ride. That's a really nice ride.
Yeah, we'll go over to sort of Longmont, and then Longmont up to Burford, you know, go to the roads back there on the foothills. There's a nice ride too.
Need some more light reading room.
I got a couple of minutes here. Everybody's up smoking.
So this is basically pull up our financials, because this 35,000, I remember.
Yeah, the first, both sides, he did a 10-year review, or actually 6-year review. Then the tax side had to do a little bit more analysis, just so you know where The increases the board implemented, how they're affecting the budget, but not where we need to be.
And that was gonna be my question. For a town our size, does anybody know where we really should be as far as that's concerned?
I'll reserve that response until the rest of the board gets to it.
Okay.
Julie Scobie and I talked about that USD meeting today. That's kind of what they specialize in.
Everything's been in such a state of flux over the last couple of years in this. It is gratifying to see that we are doing as well as we are, considering what it could have been. So I feel gratified by that, even though we have major expenditures to do.
I was telling David, we see a bunch of gravel trucks running down to 32 and a half and out. So I'm guessing they're coming from that.
It better not be. Yeah, there's a strict agreement on the Go First Reservoir that the only route they can take, 38 to 60.
Oh, they were running for like a week. They were coming down and
I'll
taking
check
32
on
and a
that.
half over the top of that river there, over our bridge, over that way.
I'll check on that.
I thought you said they were running north, so that's.
No, they were coming into
They were
town.
coming south.
Yeah, they were coming into town.
Okay,
And
I get it.
32 and a half and running.
I'm not sure they've actually started mining operations up there.
They're not supposed to until September.
Yeah, there was like,
So I don't know where they're coming
they
from.
were running
Who
for like
goes
a
on?
week. A week they were coming down through there, and I'm like, where are these trucks at? Like, I didn't realize they started.
Should've jumped in and followed one.
I thought they were going to go down 38, so.
Are you ready?
Yes, sir.
Ready.
Go for it.
Okay, as far as the financials in the sewer fund, the main thing is you look at your cash, which is gonna be your top 5 items basically. Your combined cash, your direct money, Colorado East, Colorado Trust for general cash flow. The sewer investment is restricted, you can't use it for maintenance or operations, that's for new. And then your reserve, Colorado Trust Reserve is in the actual sewer fund.
Troy, this is of May 31st, 2017 for now.
Yes. Yeah, 'cause he did this when he was doing the May financials. I'm not gonna go over all of these, but what I'm looking at, let me go back here. The expenditures,
Revenue compared to expenditures.
the expenditures, we budgeted just under 400,000 for expenditures. Only about 25%. Back up to revenue. You're busy now? Okay. 458. So we deliberately established an expenditure around 60 to 65,000 less than revenue anticipation. We watch this very closely. Our revenues are 42% of the year, expenditure about 25%. So while I try hard to keep that gap, we'll keep that gap.
But are you keeping this down by, putting things off that really you need to keep up on?
Well, when we went this year, we really kind of stripped the water sewer fund as far as anything that's non-essential. I mean, this is just general operations maintenance.
We haven't done the slip lining yet in the sewer side of things. And, you know, I think we have a $30,000 line item for that, if I remember correctly. I don't have it in front of me right this second, but, and we'll probably expend all of that. we typically spend about $15,000 to $18,000 in jetting the entire system annually, but that's cheaper than one basement flood mount.
Yeah.
You know, so those types of things typically, I mean, last year we actually had the slip lining done in July. This year it's gonna be later in the year that we get it done because I haven't got it scheduled yet. Typically we do late September, early October for the annual jetting, so that'll come out later in the year. It does two things for us. It allows us to make sure we haven't had any other catastrophic events that we needed to use those funds elsewhere for prior to using them for the maintenance type thing. But we just, with the stuff we've been dealing with the streets and then the well going down and those kinds of things, we just haven't taken the time to get the slip lining scheduled yet and that kind of thing. So there's gonna be some more expenditures there.
Right here is 30,000, that's way to touch it for slip on,
Yeah, I'm concerned that, we're trying to just keep a balance there and then there's backlogs.
No,
But if you're keeping up with the project.
I mean, we were out there today and we noticed we're having a little problem with the flow into one side of the wetlands. So I've got a truck coming out tomorrow morning to jet that out for us and get it cleaned out. I didn't hesitate one iota to make a phone call and say, I want you guys here at 7 o'clock tomorrow morning. And because we've worked with them in the past, they said, do I need to be there by 7 o'clock tonight? And I said, no, we'll be fine till tomorrow morning, so you don't need to charge me the extra, just come tomorrow morning and we'll get it taken care of.
Yeah.
But, no, we haven't backed off on anything to try, it's just, it kind of ebbs and flows. I'm not gonna make a promise that we're gonna stay that far below for the rest of the year. We won't make unnecessary or extra type things, oh, well, maybe if a little is good, a lot would be better or something. If a little is gonna get us by, then we'll do a little, but that makes sense?
Yeah, just concerned, like the screening plan was put off a long time, and it's really been needed a long time, and that's gonna affect the rate in order to afford that.
Well, one thing we need to look at is going back to the sewer. And I need to talk to Dave Green when he comes in about this. Go back to revenues. Charge for services. We could potentially, and I've been hesitant to touch it, with the sewer investment fund right here, Pete. Again, it can be used for maintenance, it can be used for expansion, going back to the BBC impact study. These investment fees for expansion of your facility, new trunk lines, so forth, new sewer agreement. I believe, based upon that definition, that these funds could be used as a grant match for that sewer system, if you want to go that route.
Well, and then you're talking about a 12-inch line, there's
Exactly, that's
we're
the
gonna
water
be
side.
making. Yeah, but we're talking that we need to upgrade everything, and that concerns me with the rates that we currently have can't cover it.
But if we go back to the BBC study, and we kind of had an argument with Adam Orange, why did our investment fees go down? And he says, legally, you can only justify what your system is based upon your community needs. I mean, now we have a pressure issue, but that's our own problem. We have water tanks and we buy water. That's our system. Sewer lagoon, we have sewer lagoon. We have 3 cells, right? And then we have some lift stations, and that's what the analysis came of. So when we raise fees, we have to be careful on how we do so.
You have to justify it.
To justify, we have to have the rational nexus.
Right.
So we have to
Like
keep
the
that.
flow,
We have to keep that in mind. What's that?
like the flow,
Like the what?
that we need to increase the flow,
Yeah.
The pressure on the
flow.
and that can justify it? Okay, I'm just trying to figure out.
No, I agree with you. Going back down to the water, yeah, it's a quick overview. for that sewer. Okay. Water fund, the top three, you got your combined cash of 386, we got a little bit of Colorado Trust, 161. And then your investment fees at 337. A lot of the other stuff, like our water system, that's our tanks and all of our trunk lines. And there's always depreciation in enterprise funds. Water and sewer, there's huge cost and depreciation. So those are things that, there's a formula that David Green uses to calculate that mix from the state that he uses to depreciate our system based on what it is.
Valuing the water rights, is that value based on what we paid for it, or is that value based on what it's worth right now? $4 million for 800 and some shares seems a little light, doesn't it?
In our portfolio, we have 852 shares of CBT. 852. And my belief is that it's based on what we paid for it.
I would tend to agree with that based on looking at that number.
What's that?
The depreciation?
No, the
asset
water
value.
right.
Water
4
rights.
million.
Now, does that include Platteville Ditch?
No, this is our water fund.
Okay,
It is
Platteville Ditch is
well
in what? What fund, where is that located? Platteville Milling and Ditch, water.
There's no fund for that.
I mean a fund, but it's listed, it has to be listed as an asset, correct?
I don't think it currently is, and that's why we're doing water supply fund. It can't go in the water enterprise fund, because that's just pure potable water.
Oh, that's potable water. Okay. So we don't have.
We may use this as separate little funds, just for ditch water and for a well.
Yeah, because we have to pay yearly fee for that, correct?
Does that come out of this water fund? The ditch assessment?
I think we have it.
Think we have that? We really probably should, we should separate that. I'll talk to Brad Hagan once he gets the report done, I'd recommend doing a non-potable water fund, so we keep those separate. That'd be my recommendation. You can put probably the groundwater and the ditch water together, but I keep that separate from the potable water altogether. He may say otherwise.
I'm gonna be very interested to see what your recommendation is on that.
852 shares of CBT at an assumed cost of $25,000 a share is $21 million.
No, that sounds more like it.
This is so.
We just closed all
Better
our
be in the U-Haul, Mike, what you gonna do?
Wow.
Upkeep charges under your base rates, not dealing with sewer, but it's the same thing. It holds steady, I mean, it's, you can't get around paying your base rates. It's consumption. And again, this is in May, people aren't watering a whole lot. You had to wait till the end of August or the September financials before you actually see that catch up. At my house, I don't want big grass on the water, so, but, I'm not recommending any restriction at this point based upon what David showed earlier, where we're at in our CBT quote, we're staying pretty good. Go down to expenditures, charge for services. Don't forget. Again, our expenditures is 25% roughly. Water sewer is always, for some reason, about the same. But the augmentation plan engineering at $25,000 will come out of this line item when it's done. The depreciation expense that David Green hasn't started moving forward yet in the budget. Usually does that quarterly or half a year, then at the end of the year. So those numbers will change significantly once he starts making those adjustments. As far as operations, the water meters right here, you just authorized purchase tonight on the consent agenda.
Yes.
So, that will change in the next month.
Which we were looking at an 8% increase if we placed the order on July 5th. So that's why we requested that this evening.
8%.
Wow.
They were giving you an incentive?
They gave us the same price as we got them for last year. Their price increase was going into effect July 5th.
Isn't that interesting, an 8% increase, and yet the consumer price index shows virtually no inflation? Isn't that intriguing?
So the last one is a perpetual care, which we modified the percentage that goes into this on lot sales, just so more money can go into operations, because this is restricted. So everybody, go ahead, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, I have a question on the fund analysis, and I just want to clarify it for me 100%. Cash basis change in net position, that means positive, right? On the water for 2016.
2016.
That means 249,000 in the positive direction. Is that correct?
Parentheses is negative. It's
Yes,
not-
parentheses is negative. So we changed $500,000.
A quarter of a million.
Well, if you know,
Oh, no,
255,000
no,
loss
yeah, no.
to a 250, we changed net position in 1 year, $500,000.
A year and a half.
Year and a half.
2015 to 2016.
Or just from that, but
But how much of that money did we transfer over from, one of the other funds? Didn't
I
we?
didn't think we did.
We injected some money into
We did a
it,
correction or something.
and we just did that.
At the end of last year?
Wasn't near that much.
Well, we put the money in, but I don't think we never actually moved it. We made it available to do that, but we didn't actually do that. Is that correct, Mr. Manuel?
keep this in mind, 2015, this is based upon the projected budget. We just didn't spend that budget.
Well,
Remember, we didn't spend those
Yeah.
large capital outlays. So that's based upon budget. So at the end of 2016, the end budget showed that flip-flop.
Yes.
But we
But-
had the screen, hadn't we?
We took the screen out, which
We
was
took the screen out.
360,000.
Screen out.
We took all those out. We took the big capital projects out, we just didn't spend them.
Okay, that reflects that, doesn't it? Oh, thank you.
Yep, there
Because
it
that's
is.
not true cash, that's not true
Okay,
cash.
okay, thank you.
Yep,
Because that helped me go over there.
yes.
I know, I like to spend money, but not that much.
350, about $500,000 with the screen.
So if you look on that
Okay.
flip side of water and sewer charges, you have your upkeep 14, 15, 16. And then your consumption. Now granted, 16 is the year where the increases in base rates and your tiered usage went into effect. Your
But only for
revenues,
half a year, isn't that right?
when did those go in? I can't remember. Wasn't the full year, no. I remember expecting March or
It
April.
wasn't like March, I think, or something?
Yeah, it was,
Yeah,
it was in spring.
I think it was April.
It was before the watering season.
Yeah, before water season.
Yeah.
So in the water fund, you're looking at your expenditures or your revenues are going up slightly. We're starting to with your revenues. And then your operating expenses, we cut budget obviously, so they've gone down, so we're building up a little bit of cash flow there. Sewer fund, the same thing.
Now, this operating cost cut, is this a cut that can be ongoing, or is this a cut that is short term?
I want to say it's long-term. I'd say, I mean, without digging into the details of the water and sewer fund, we obviously know we have projects we need to do.
Exactly.
I mean, our.
So this isn't a cut that we can say is going forward. This is a one-time shot to alleviate a problem.
What we did the last year is we pretty much cut our capital outlay out of the water and sewer funds. It is just a maintenance operations budget. So that's not gonna increase significantly unless we grow significantly. But we need to do capital outlay projects again, so we need to bring more money into the finish this capital outlay. The water trouble line, the pressure system, you know, the sewer lagoon, the screening plant.
Do you have a suggestion?
Because
Because you and David look at this every day. So you have a better feel for what we're looking, for what we need to do going forward.
it's a double-edged sword. I mean, you're gonna have to prioritize this fall. Now the time for the screening plant, we wait another year. We did a 12-inch line coming out from the water tank to the water fund. And if we do that, which I think is more of a priority at this point, because it affects the whole system, and our pressure, and the fire department, and our businesses, not do the pressure system, but do the trunk line first, through a grant. And we have money in the bank, I think, to do a matching grant application, but it's not, there's not much left after that. If you're asking about increasing the usage fees for water and sewer, the base rates for water and sewer, gotta be
What I'm
right.
asking.
When I talked to Julie today at USDA, we talked about both the water and sewer funds. And one suggestion she had is, if you're looking at your debt-free budget, you don't have any loans, you don't have any bonds. If you are in dire need, her suggestion is you go after a loan or revolving loan application. She said 1% interest over 40 years.
Instead of increasing fees.
You have to increase fees. She says at least 1% a year.
Yeah.
But
They're
that's
gonna have
not,
to cover
that's
them.
not gonna cover our capital projects. 1% a year is not gonna cover it. I mean, it'll take 20 years. But by then, those costs are gonna be 3 times, 4 times a year. So it's a mixture of both. I would suggest the board definitely increase water and sewer, at least the 1% that we talked about, and build that into the budget every year.
Didn't we do that? Didn't we do that when we raised the rates? We were gonna have a yearly.
We were gonna review it after the first year.
Yeah, after the first full year.
That's some type of agreement.
No.
Yeah, I think it needs to be set, that it automatically.
It's not a popular thing to say, but we do have to take care of that
Well,
stuff.
if we do it on an annual basis, a
Not
little
such a
bit,
killer.
and we're not nailing people 5, 6 years down the road with a substantial increase in putting them in shock.
Just like we had to do.
But I think the town went 12 or 13 years without any
They
increase.
thought so. They thought so.
So building, and we talked a little bit about, we did an informal study, I ran it by Ken, our town attorney, to establish that rational nexus, looking at our revenues and expenditures and our water rates. We did the impromptu survey with the other surrounding communities at the time. I have all that documented. And she said, if you've done all that, then you can pay someone to do a study for you, if you want to. But she said at least most communities will build in a 1 to 2.5% increase annually, automatically built into the water sewer. Because what she said is, like with USDA, it's a national fund program, federal government. And Colorado gets a certain allocation. She says, in these climates, in this political climate, he says, I have no guarantee I want to have money for any kind of funding in the future. You know, that was her testament side of things. So she said, don't rely on grants if you don't have to.
But I like the gradual each month, each year, not, skipping 3 or 4 years and then hitting them.
We haven't kept up with the cost of inflation yet. And the cost of inflation is virtually nil. We haven't done that. So we do need to make, Mike's right, we need to make revisions and make something that's small, that's easily digestible. Well, it's never easy, but it won't.
Well, we did prior, and Lauren did the legwork on it, we looked at surrounding communities, here from Port Ocean North, to about our size in the area, about 8 communities, I believe. And we looked at usage rates, especially for water. Per 1,000 gallons of water used, it was how much, what people were paying. Then we looked at their total bill for water and sewer, including the base rates. When I talked to Julie's, the USDA today, and I told her, and I had a ballpark estimate about our water and sewer base rates, she goes, ours were astronomically low. Astronomically low.
Yeah.
Because we hadn't for so many years.
And that is where you're gonna get your revenue assured, because people can't avoid paying that. But on the flip side, if you raise it too high, they're gonna stop using water. Your whole town will go brown. That's in her words. So you have to do a delicate balance there.
So if we're going to do that, would we want to do that? What's the lag time between voting on that, between approving that and the time it's instituted? Was there like a 2 or 3 month lag time the last time we did that?
We deliberately held off last time.
Is that the
We
reason?
deliberately held off in order
So we could send out lots of
let people know
notices.
what was going on, because we had a number of citizens that were already having trouble.
Well, and not only did we increase the rate, we did the due date thing too.
Yeah, you couldn't carry over month to month.
We
So
did it,
there was two things.
we did in summer of 15, the increase went in October, and then we went through this last year, so we're almost 2 years into it.
I thought it
Remember at the
happened in
time-
March.
Or maybe
A year
March,
ago.
maybe it was October, then March. I can't
Before
remember.
me.
Yeah, it was.
So,
That's right, it was right before the election.
would it be prudent to make it a point to take care of that during budget and have it take effect January 1?
That'd be my recommendation.
Oh, thank you.
I think we should, get the ordinances ready to go so that we can put it in place.
Good enough, every once in a while I get there.
Well, everything from Adam Warren, we did the impact fee study. Another thing that's coming out that, we're talking about our storm drain with Reynolds Avenue and so forth. The one thing that Don Sandoval strongly recommended is, I know you have streetlight fee and you have sidewalk fee. How do you pay for storm drain if you have no development? If you're not a community wanting to grow, your impact fees will never grow. So most communities who want to hold steady and not explode and grow, they add on fees. And Nichols and Niger communities, it does. But it helps build the money up to pay for those infrastructure costs, that if you don't have any coming in to pay for it.
My renters in Longmont have to pay that snow
Most-
drain.
He said not every, but pretty much every community of 20,000 population in Colorado has a storm impact fee.
Yeah.
Adams County has one. The county has one.
Really?
Yes. So,
I'd like to see I would like to, on things like that, I would kind of like to wait until we see what kind of property tax revenue increase we're looking at for the coming year.
well, that's why.
That's going to have an impact, I
We'll
think.
wait till budget, wait till the end of August when I get the tax assessment from Mr. Woodruff with the Will County. I'm estimating it'll go back up at least 10, not 4% based upon the recent valuations, but we'll see.
I think
But that's not gonna impact our enterprise fund.
It won't,
Yeah.
not at all. Not an enterprise fund. It'll impact the general fund.
Right.
Correct. But it does have an effect, if you're gonna put start piling on fees, that's not the right term, but when we add fees and then the property taxes go up, that gives people, I would think that would give people a bad feeling.
Well, you think of water and sewer.
So I wanna be careful how we do
Now,
this.
we talked about putting in place the town paying certain amount to these every year. We've got that in place, right? To the enterprise funds for the town usage,
For the water.
for water.
Yeah, that's built in automatic.
Did the library, did we take care of is the library paying?
It's pretty nominal, because when Lori did the research, they actually looked at what's their meter. The library uses very little water.
But there should be a base rate.
There's a base there, residential. Or maybe it's commercial, but I doubt it, but it was,
Yeah, probably residential, I would agree with that.
so there's, instead of hammering everything at budget time, I like to do the major review, just, and it's not on the details, as it probably should be, but on the key capital projects, when you start thinking about, like the water and sewer, like the water line and the sewer screen, we don't have to use enterprise funds to pay for those, we can use capital improvement funds. But
Capital improvement funds isn't gonna even be a drop in the bucket, unfortunately, at the magnitude of these costs.
so we have to look at, we had to think outside the box, right now we have 3.5%, we have 3% sales tax. Look at other communities, and it's kind of 3.5, 4. I don't know. But you have to look at-
that's a vote of the people, I don't
those
know.
elections, never seem to, with the long schools and try to get them.
But on ours, we went from 2 to 3 back in '09, and we could show the voters, and this is just an idea, I'm not proposing it, that we put X amount of millions of dollars since that time into streets and sidewalks. I mean, it's our, you know, I agree, the school district took forever, because that was a very touchy subject, but.
Very emotional subject.
But my point is, looking at all the options of revenue, to increase our revenue stream. Not just for water.
You know, maybe the town would be more agreeable to it nowadays because you have all the oil and gas and people buying stuff at the convenience stores down there and the dollar stores that are from our community.
Yeah. Well, another stream is, you know, looking at the downtown, like in the businesses, you know. And that's why over the longer picture, we develop an incentive program through the state of Colorado to attract
Yes.
some retail, to attract some more sales tax, increase our property tax. It's a longer term solution, but regardless, we need to work on it. I mean, you drive downtown, you have the old Fort William property sitting vacant. You've got the old gas station, which probably not going to sit vacant. Two very key points, extremely key points.
I agree.
You know, I talked to Del Boehner, Outlaw Beach, just south of Anadarko. There's some restrictions, because you got to own gas, you know, just east of Earl Riders property. And then we have some retention pond that we have to deal with. We're going to expand that retention pond over there because of the fire department. We were able to enter the park about that. But even with that schematic that Steve Bethers gave David and I, there's 2 lots that are about 1 acre that can be developed. Dell says, I have no interest in it. This is what you're buying from me. You develop.
Yeah.
He came in last year and we split that one, because I thought he had a.
It's on the energy part, but on the undeveloped side, which is the commercial side.
Oh.
And I asked him what he wanted for it, I think he said 150 or something like that. I can't remember specifically. He said, I gotta get my cost out of my infrastructure, my curb and get all that kind of stuff. But he says, buy it from it, develop it, bring in some retail that you want. I got in my office, I just have approached 40 about it.
The thing, at least from my perspective, and I've started a few businesses, the reason why people aren't coming into town is because our downtown looks like our downtown. We have to do something with that. Before we start trying to entice people, we have to give them a reason to think they're going to succeed.
Well,
But with oil and gas right across the street, I mean, you can approach, I don't know.
It has to look attractive. We are focused on infrastructure, and that is exactly what we should be doing, but at this point in time, I think we're due to start looking downtown. And I know we're doing things.
The problem with looking downtown is we can only do so much. The people who own the building have to buy in, and it just puts a limit on anything that we can do. I mean, we can do all this stuff, but if the people who own those buildings decide they don't want to put any money into it, they don't want to change it, then we end up putting money into what?
Right, exactly. And you can't sell second
You
business.
gotta have a buy-in, from the businesses. And if they don't buy in and just looking at that area, I don't know, you've talked to them, are they buying in?
Well, I mentioned already about doing a business meeting with them this fall.
Yeah.
And bringing in Kathy Sholey, because she said there's opportunity where they can invest a little up front and get a long-term rebate tax credits.
Yeah.
You know, which would reduce their property taxes every year, which may not seem like much, but, and then the town, she says, has different ways they can incentivize.
Well, I've talked to several towns that, you know, for their downtown area, they've developed a grant program where you have to apply and tell us what you're gonna do, but the town will give that own business owner a grant to revitalize their area or a loan, you know. There's all kinds of different things we can do.
At that mayor's summit, they did discuss that for about a month. Some towns have done that, and it works for some, and it doesn't for others. The problem I think that we have downtown is there's a place to keep. And until we start doing something, I don't know that we can shake them out of their complaint.
And we've already started
Yeah,
talking about steps.
we've got phases
Yeah,
coming.
We've got things that we're putting out there, and maybe it will, maybe it'll work them to buy in, but I'm just thinking about businesses that we've got down there, you know, some of them are in the older buildings, those could easily be fitted into a nice downtown scheme.
I agree
Some of
with
the
that.
stuff that's been built since then, just looking at the businesses that are in there, they just don't, I don't see them buying in. I mean,
You know, Mountain Constructors did that on their own when everything around them was pretty shabby. And then heating, they took that building and did it. So I think there's people that are willing to do things. I think we need to start. Without us starting, everybody else feels like they're doing it on their own without the town's involvement. I think we need to show involvement and actually start. And I know you are with the undergrounding and everything like that. And it can't be seen, but it's a start. It's where we start.
Well, I definitely think, I agree with Mike, the town's got to take the lead, but we're gonna have to really show what incentive there is for them to come along with this program. I mean, they're gonna have to, they're gonna have to see money in the bank, some kind of tax rebate, increased revenue from the properties. You know, you have the business association that, upstate Colorado, like Kathy, Solly, what's the incentive? You know, that's what the Chamber of Commerce really fell apart. There's no incentive. Why would we be a part of something? Well, I'll just go down and know what's wrong. You have to have some kind of result coming out of it. You know, you do a grant program like you said, where if you put 5,000 improvements on the exterior of your building, you get a 12-month sales tax reduction. Something. Those are the incentive programs we have to think about, start developing.
But we don't have a lot of sales tax revenue downtown right now.
Or property tax.
We have a restaurant and a bar. So we need to have incentivize the people that own the property to develop it, to bring in business, or we need to look at maybe what it would take to us to purchase that property and build it and attract business downtown.
Well, another outside the box thing, you know, look at the energy park, look at the acreage over there, maybe somewhere else, but is there enough acreage there that we can purchase and develop and incentivize someone like Colorado Wire to relocate, redevelop that property for grocery store? I mean, those are big picture items that we need to look at. And it's nothing to do with the business. It's best for them. They have semi-trucks, they have lot storage, it'd be best for the town. So you gotta think outside the box to get to that point.
You gonna put a movie theater back in it?
Nope. Okay, well, we're gonna pick this up again, obviously. When we go on the budget, just so you know, probably be late September, one of the first meetings we'll have is about these kind of projects before we start looking at the numbers. And then years past, we look at numbers, and then when there weren't numbers, we start talking about vision and projects. So I just reversed that.
Maybe we should do a couple meetings like subdivision.
Yeah.
Probably more than one.
Okay.
All right.
Have a good 4th of July weekend, we'll see you on the 18th.
Yeah, you guys go get a special?
I am heading with a few of my family to Kansas to my folks, and I'll be back next Wednesday.
Where do you guys head now?
Well, my wife has got a garage sale, she'll let me know.
I'll be working.
My
Garage sale this Friday?
Yeah.
This Friday, okay.
My wife is Tyler moved out with Austin, so they live in Austin. So the basement is empty, so she started cleaning that, she goes, we'll have a garage sale. Just, my garage is so full of stuff.
But she didn't even answer the set, wherever you're at.
Oh, she's been asking me since early May.
See y'all later.
Well, maybe I might be, bring it over to your garage.
Yeah, you're
Probably working.
We got the.
Mary, thank you.
Yep, double time.
Wow.
Beyond the.
Sounds too good.
Would you take it
We're back to our square.
So
So like, they got 15, parking lot, or,
Yeah.
they got weeds in there. They need to, that's the first site.
I know.
Not have to make
Well,
it $500 parking. I'm taking everything I can get out.
By the TJT, they don't get it.